everybody, and welcome to APU and Berjaya University College National Malaysian Conference in association with the Friends Project, which is an Erasmus Plus project. We're going to be going through a bit of a brief introduction to Erasmus and the Friends Project, and then we're going to talk about internationalization at home, followed by some presentations by our external speakers. I'm joined today by Swan, who's just appeared on screen. Ronald from Berjaya. And possibly Jason. Okay, technical glitch sorted. Apologies for that one. So as I was saying, joined by Swan and Jason, who will be leaning into one another in a very friendly way, and Ronald, who's also joining us in the room. We're also joined by 4 of our students who recently went on their boot camp to Bulgaria. I can't turn my laptop around to show you them at the moment, but we will see them a little bit later. So, without further ado, are we ready? Shall we get started?
Yeah.
Yes? Let's get ready to rumble. Okay, so we'll put our slides on. So, there we go. Thank you. So, as I say, this is the Internationalization at Home National Conference for Malaysia in association with APU and Berjaya University College. Okay. Moving on, I've already mentioned what we're going to be looking at. We will be finishing the day with a presentation of digital story winners for the end of the 2021 period. But first of all, let's find out all about the Erasmus project, if this works. No, that didn't work. Let me go back one slide. Okay, I might need some technical assistance. Jerry, are you able to play the slide or not? I don't think so. Right, let's not bother with the video. The link is on the screen. Erasmus is a European project, part of the European Commission, which provides funding for a number of different activities, whether that's for mobility of staff and students or whether it's for enhancing the education and the experience of staff and students across the globe. So there are a number of projects that we're involved in. Both APU and Berjaya are involved in what's called the KA 107 or the mobility projects, where students have the opportunity to travel to our partner institutions to spend some time on an education program and bring the credit back to their respective universities. Now, we've got projects that are going to be starting at the end of this year, which also will allow that mobility. But then there are other capacity building projects, and that's what Friends is all part of. So capacity building is where institutions across Europe will work with institutions across Asia to provide them with support and to enhance their capabilities. So, what is the Friends Project? Well, the Friends Project consists of 16 educational institutions from 5 partner countries and 4 program countries. So the partner countries are the Asian countries and the program countries are the European countries. So in Europe, we have Bulgaria, as the key owner for the project. We also have Turkey, Poland, and Hungary. Across Asia, we have Bhutan, Cambodia, obviously Malaysia, the Philippines, and Thailand. So 12 institutions in total. And what we've been doing over the last couple of years is putting together the Friends Project to provide an intercultural awareness and cultural diversity module for students so that they can enhance their abilities to work effectively in a global workplace as they progress into their jobs. Click that slide there. So the background for this project is internationalization at home, and that's the focus of our sessions for today. And it says here, it's the purposeful integration of international and intercultural dimensions into the formal and informal curriculum for all students with domestic learning environments. Within domestic learning environments, sorry. You don't need to travel now to be international. It's all very nice if you can, but over the last 2 years, we've experienced people having to delve into being international, but without the ability to jump on a plane and travel halfway across the world. Okay, and so we'll find out from 4 of our students a little bit later what they learned from the module, and then what they learned when they actually attended a boot camp in Bulgaria a month ago, yes. So the objective of the Friends Project was to strengthen the involved Asian universities' international capabilities and to develop students' global competence through purposeful integration of intercultural dimensions into the formal and informal curriculum. And that's where the module actually came in. I don't know whether my fellow colleagues at Berjaya or at APU want to jump in with anything here. Or I could talk all day. Anything you want to add? Ronald, from Berjaya's viewpoint, I'll let you unmute and I will mute.
Thank you. I need to turn my phone. Sorry. Thank you, Andy, for the introduction. On the main objective of Erasmus Plus Friends project, like what Andy has mentioned, is basically to integrate intercultural dimension. And for our students in Berjaya, since we are a small niche institution focusing on hospitality and tourism, this is basically very important because hospitality and tourism students normally meet international and a wide variety of guests, in service, especially when they go for internship and also for projects within the university itself, and this is also to enable students that are not able to participate in the mobility program through the MOOC. They will have some basic information and knowledge related to what intercultural diversity means, and when they are visiting other countries, they get to know what are the limitations, especially in terms of languages and culture of other countries, especially when they are supposed to work in international groups of people and students. I think that's what I have to say at the moment. Back to you, Jason. Andy.
Okay, back to me. I know Jason and I will go away. Okay, so thank you, Ronald. Or shall I call you something else? I don't know. I'll call you Ronald. That is your name. Okay, we should also remember that today we're also celebrating the 3rd annual Friends Day at APU, and that's in conjunction with the United Nations International Day of Friendship. That's yearly on the 30th of July, so we're a little bit early, but it's no big problem to celebrate it a little bit early. And so friendship between peoples, countries, cultures, and individuals can inspire peace efforts and build bridges between communities. by accumulating bonds of camaraderie and developing strong ties of trust to achieve lasting stability, weave a safety net that will protect us all and generate passion for a better world where all are united for a greater good. Now, we're not saying that the Friends Project is going to get us all the way there, but we are trying to instill the idea that working with people from different backgrounds, different cultures and experiences will help to build a better workplace. And when people go out into the workplace, they are going to need these skills to be able to work effectively across cultures, across boundaries, and across time zones. So there is more information on the United Nations website. You can find out that a little bit later. I'm going to hand over to Jason, or I might call him Andy.
Thank you, Tom. Those students that are listening into our MOOCs, if I was to use the phrase Linda, people would get it. Oh, someone's just shot themselves. I think more than ever in terms of COVID, I think people have begun to realize the importance of networking and how kind of isolated people have been for a 2-year period. We had visiting students here from India yesterday, about 122 to be exact. And there was alumni from APU doing a presentation. There was networks from APU, USM, It just shows how small the world actually is. And it's all based upon friendships. Our partnership with kind of Saito was brought into play. And so that brought in people from all over. And I think, even when organizing this event, we're leveraging off our personal academic friendships as well as social friendships. And I think when you feel it quite personally when someone's been exposed to COVID, etc., it kind of, I think, brought a lot more community together. So I think friendship nowadays, people have begun to appreciate that. And students, when they graduate, are becoming more aware of this. They've got their certificates, they've got their professional qualifications, they've got their degree, whether it's dual or not. And then going, so what about my employability? What about my job? You've got the soft and the hard skills, but also if you've got the network and the friendships, and that's going to get you into these jobs in a sustainable career. So yeah, I think more so than ever, the importance of this in terms of the academic curriculum is so important, because it's how we as academics build our networks, build on friendship.
And we were saying earlier, we get the students to talk about their cultural journeys. We've all gone through our own, whether it's developing the module for Jason and I, moving to another part of the world and setting up shop here, learning to live and cope with Swan. That's one of the biggest issues you have. Yes, so if you can cope with Swan, you can cope with anything.
Still haven't. It's only been 3 years.
I've done 18. I'd have probably done less time for murder. Anyway, so friendship is important, and I think you can probably tell there is some friendship, maybe, between us here in the room from time to time. So that sort of sets the scene. So the project has been running now for about 2.5 years, with the main work having taken place in the last couple of years. So we set up the work with the European partners and with the Asian partners to produce a module to incorporate into the curriculum, and that's what the students have been involved in. But some of the other activities there is a slight problem when you have transitions on your slides and then you try and present them here. Okay, so I will now have to read around the slide. The presentation software that we're using for today's session doesn't allow the transitions. So what does it say underneath those images? Well, in March of 2021, we launched the Intercultural Passport module at APU. We've had, I don't know, I'm looking across now, is it 5 intakes of students now? 6, 5, 6.
6.
We're on the 6th intake now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 6th intake.
Yeah.
Total of average of 300 students.
Yeah, I think the total number of students that have gone through the module and submitted their digital stories now stands at about 1,537 off the top of my head. I was calculating it earlier. So yeah, there's a large number of students, and that's a lot of videos that we've had to look through. So those who are in the room with me, to be 4 of the best out of 1,537 is pretty good. We're going to find out the winners of the, like I say, we do this twice a year. So in June, July, when we have the Friends Day, we announce the winners of the September and November intakes, and then in December we have another event where we announce the winners of the March and June intakes. So we're going to meet the September and November intake winners at the end of today. And those of you who are subscribed to our YouTube channel, that's the APU Quality Assurance Board, you will find that there are some APU digital stories July 2022, which will be made available at 5:15 Malaysian time today. They are not there yet, and I'm hoping YouTube works properly and they will suddenly go live at 5:15. So the winners actually know who they are, but the other students don't yet. So we also had our Friends Day in July of 2021. That was the second Friends Day that we hosted. And we had the official launch of the Tea House. Now, we're actually in the Tea House today. And what I'm going to now ask Swan to do, because she's my glamorous assistant, sorry. Sorry, Swan. Would you like to pick up your laptop, not drop it on the floor, and do a quick pan around the room so that people see the tea house that we're in? You'll also get to see the students who have been trying desperately to hide off camera. I don't know which way you want to go, but we've got time.
But if you look at the back of me, you can see the alphabet.
It does say Friends across the window, yes.
It's in the, because it's a mirror image, so you see it. What do you call that? Upside down, left to right?
Inverted,
And these are some of
reflective.
Our students here who will share their story a little later, and you see.
Swan, your head's in the way now. There you go. Go in now. There you go. Is it?
Right. Okay. So yeah, so we have got all the facilities here.
Have you just stop where you are at the moment? Go pan back a little. I like this. Pan back a little bit, Swan. I do like this. Right, to your backwards towards the window, not towards me. No, that's the other way. And stop. Okay, so behind you'll see a TV screen. Swan's going to have to go to the gym after this. Her arm's going to be really, really weak. The TV. So we've got 2 rooms at the side as well, where students can come and edit their digital stories for the module as well. Okay, carry on panning now, Swan.
Yeah.
Keep going around. We'll get to me. There you go. That's me.
I just wanted to show. Sorry, I think
That's Friends.
I wanted to show the other side outside the room, where there's also some space for students to
Come and watch. Yes.
And communicate, and to also have any events out there. It's a big space where they can, like I said, hold any events and whatnot.
Okay. I was going to say, if there are any students on campus watching, you probably should be in class. But if you aren't supposed to be in class and you're watching, you can come and watch us through the window, and it will be very exciting. It's a rectangular window rather than a square window. But yeah,
So
I get the idea.
Here
Thanks,
goes my yearly exercise.
I'll call you Jeffrey. Okay. So yeah, so we opened. No, anyway, there's a UK TV show. There was a cultural connection between us. We also managed to publicise the tea house in China last August as well. We did a lot of work to make sure people were aware of the project. We held a Friends reunion in December of last year, and that's where we announced the second batch of winners. We also had an advent calendar for Christmas, which I spent hours putting together. And I think 3 people looked at it. So for next year, If you want to look at the advent calendar, please do so.
So you want to speak?
Yes.
Are we going to
Yes, it was. It was just the three people in the room. But yeah, you're not supposed to give that away, right? Okay. In 2022. Yes, it was, yes. 2022, we ran the Friends Caravan event, and that was to promote the activity amongst other institutions around Malaysia. We had a webinar with IaH, and she'll be appearing later on today, doing the same presentation. The Student Representative Council will also be using the Tea House as their base of operations when it comes to organising our multicultural events. And so November, December of this year, there will be a big multicultural event back on campus. We've started receiving students back on campus. When they're not on campus, the picture on the bottom left of the screen, that's the group of students, including, I can't work out which you are from this because the picture's really small, but our 4 students are in that photo somewhere. That's from the Bulgarian boot camp. Do you know where you are?
Yeah, we know.
Okay, try and explain to all those watching. Where are you? In the middle? Oh yeah, no, but where are you in the picture? Where are you in the picture?
We're on the right hand side.
But you were there. You should know where you were standing.
We're on the right.
On the right.
Yes.
Is that my right or your right?
Our right. I mean, you're
Okay, right. So anyway, so the students were there. Also, they say they might have been off partying somewhere, and they weren't really in that image. Anyway, so yeah, like I say, we'll find out about the experience in Bulgaria in a short while. But I was saying we've had students back on campus, and one of the other activities for the Friends Project has been the local market for global talent career fair. And so this actually only took place 1 month ago, on the 20th. I think it was the 28th of. The date is on there somewhere. It's a bit too small for me to read. It's in that pink dot. I think it was the 29th of June. But you'll see from the pictures how busy the campus was. That's the busiest our campus has been for 2 years. So it was nice to see a whole group of students back. But as you worked out, I stayed a floor above because there were too many people for me. But yes, that's what APU have been up to over the last couple of years. I'm now going to hand us over to Ronald because he's going to let us know about the activities at Berjaya, and you should have control. So, could you choose the next slide on PowerPoint? If not, I'll do it for you. Don't worry.
No, I don't have.
There you go.
Yeah, for Berjaya, we have lesser activities since we are smaller in numbers, but nonetheless, we had our intercultural festival, the virtual one, in July 2021. So since we are a hospitality and tourism hotel school, so we had all the activities related to food. Yeah, so we had a theme for our first virtual intercultural festival that talks about food all around Malaysia. So we have cooking competitions, we had a food demo, and of course, since this is virtual, we can only see all the foods online. Yeah. But in the next one that we are having, which is tomorrow on the 27th of July, we are having our second intercultural festival. We have invited some traditional singers to grace the opening ceremony. We also have a food festival as well as batik painting, and the students that went for Bulgaria will also be having a sharing session. So if the students are wanted to come and visit us in Berjaya, we are more than happy to host the 4 students that went with our students to Bulgaria. Yeah. Other than the intercultural festival, we also had our global career fair, which was done on the 17th of May. So we had 45 hotels and companies that is related to hospitality and service industry to come and open booth in the campus. Yeah. Andy, next slide. Yeah. Okay, for our intercultural festival, one of the key guest speaker that we had was the head of delegation, ambassador of the EU to Malaysia, which is His Excellency Michalis Rokas. We also had Mr. Adrian Veal from Brussels that talk about Erasmus Plus initiative in Asia, particularly in Malaysia and the neighbor in Southeast Asia. So that was the highlight for our virtual intercultural festival. And then in the next slide, we also had, yes, this is some of the photos from our Global Career Fair. So we have quite a number of visitors, not only our alumni and students, we also have the general public that was interested to work in hospitality and tourism, because we also had walk-in interviews arranged during the career fair. Yeah, so it's not only open to our students, alumni, but also the general public. Yeah, and that's about it. Yeah, some of the activities that we had done, and also upcoming activities that's going to be organized in Berjaya under the Friends Tea House.
Thank you, Ronald. Okay. We've got one more slide. We've actually tried to find out what students think about the Friends project. We've got a few quotes from them. So, with the tea house being located in a prominent area, as you'll have seen from Swan's fantastic ability as our roving camera, students are well aware of the importance of being able to interact with each other regardless of their background. And then with the rollout of the IACD MOOC, that's the Intercultural Awareness and Cultural Diversity MOOC, for the first semester students, this has certainly spread the cultural awareness for students. Students are able to complete the modules through the IACD MOOC at their own pace. And I think that's one thing we haven't actually mentioned. It's not a traditional taught module. All the materials are available online, and there are just sort of drop-in sessions that happen once every 3 weeks or so, just to make sure people are making progress. We can answer any questions they may have. Those sessions are non-scripted, and those students who have attended will know how non-scripted they are. We never know what we're going to talk about until we start talking, and then it just happens. Students are given freedom and creativity in the IACD module, including for the assessment. And when we get to the end of today's session, we will have the winning videos for the new batch of students. So students do prepare a 3-minute video. Some students do have a lot of difficulty reading 3 minutes, and they try and put in 10 minutes or 6 minutes. But it's a 3-minute video to explain an intercultural experience and what they learned from it, how it will impact them and help them in their future. Another quote, through the Tea House, there are loads of cultural events every year, thus providing us a better understanding of different cultures. Over the last 2 years, it's been a little bit reduced, but there have been a lot of activities on campus in the last sort of 3 or 4 months, and it's great to see students getting involved in those. And then the last one, through the Friends Project, the university encourages students to bring out the best of their cultures, to remember not only their loved ones, but also who they are really meant to be. And that's where we allow students to, really emphasize their background, their culture, and celebrate that with the other students, promoting that camaraderie that was mentioned in the UN session. Swan's just taking a photo. I'll temporarily look across. I'm not ignoring the audience, but she's very good at moving the screen around, but she's a bit slow at taking the photo. Sorry. Never mind. Okay. See, we are friends. We can make fun of one another. She's trying to think of a comeback. Don't worry. She will have a comeback later on. Probably not able to be broadcast. Okay. That sort of brings us towards the end of our introduction. I haven't been looking on Facebook or YouTube to see whether there are any questions that are coming through. If you are watching on YouTube, then please feel free to add questions and comments. I haven't actually logged into the YouTube one here. Are there any questions? Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, one person says excellent. Thank you very much for that so far. And the millions of people that are watching on YouTube, 553, I have to say, that's a pretty good number, 553. No, it's the wrong one. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry, that was last year's. I'll say 553 is pretty good. Right, I need to find the right one now. Yes, it's. I would say we're non-scripted. What's it called? APU National Conference. I'll find it on here. I forgot to open the link for that one. National Conference. Okay, right. It's not quite 552, but we've had 16, which isn't bad since we only started 30 minutes ago. Most of these events do have post-event viewers rather than watching live. We know that most of our students are in class at the moment, apart from the 4 that we broke out to be with us today. Okay, we're just currently waiting for our speaker to arrive. If he doesn't, we will ad lib. Oh, okay, yes, I think he is available. Okay, well, in which case, let me hand over to Jason, who will do the introduction. Jason, is your mic working? Or, yep, okay, I'll mute mine.
Don't see it yet.
Yes, we have.
There we go. Jason.
Okay. As we just mentioned, it's all about friendships and collegiality and networking. And without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, Professor Dr. Mushtaq. Now, he is the Provost and CEO of Heriot Watt University here in Malaysia. He has an interesting journey, like us all, but he, as you'll see from the screen, he is a storyteller. He is someone that inspires, engages, and really just brings out the best in people in his role. I think anyone that has met Mushtaq over the years would profess to that. So he's going to share some thoughts, because Heriot Watt's an interesting campus, and it has campuses in Dubai, obviously Edinburgh, in Scotland, and here in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur. So that sort of internationalization, that mobility is embedded in the history of Heriot Watt and how it delivers its curriculum. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend, Mushtaq.
Thank you very much, Jason.
And seamless.
Absolutely wonderful, and I totally agree with Jason. Really, it's all about ultimately friendship, connection with people. And Jason has actually asked me to speak last week, and last week I had an excuse because we had our Vice Chancellor who was visiting, and I was really going around with him. So I thought I was off the hook. But then again, he texted me and say the event moved to today, and I literally squeezed half an hour just for him, and I think that is important for all of us to remember that ultimately it's at this connection between humans who have similar values and shared sense of purpose where our business happened. I don't have slides, but I will speak about maybe 3 things. I'll introduce the university to you, not in a way that is I'm marketing it to you, but I really believe that as a university, Heriot-Watt is a very different university, like every other university. So I wanted to share our story, and also wanted to talk a little bit about why I personally believe mobility and studying abroad is important, and maybe I talk a little bit about the impacts and the feedbacks that we've received from students and also from employers. Heriot-Watt University started in 1821 in Edinburgh, and started with, interestingly, a conversation between two Edinburgh gentlemen. Robert Bryson was a clockmaker, the finest in Edinburgh, and his friend Leonard Horner was a social reformer and a linen merchant. And back then, they were talking about how difficult it was for Robert Bryson, to get people who have the talent and the capabilities to work for him at his shop in Edinburgh to build clocks and watches. These were highly fashionable items, and people were wanting them. Not many people, interestingly, at that time, had watches and clocks, and because of the Industrial Revolution that started in Scotland, there is more need for timekeeping, and people were wanting all of that. Reflecting on that conversation, how similar the situation is. We still talk with the industry, and they still talk to us about the skills that is lacking in graduates and the attributes that they would like to have in people that they employ. Now, being Scottish, being very practical, they did not just complain. They did not go to the government and say, what can you do about it? They decided to do something. And that something was to start a night school in 1821. And basically, the vision of that night school was to deliver education at a price and in a time where working adults can join. So the price has to be right, and the classes has to be at night. In what we would call today maybe an upskilling center. So that was the start 200 years ago. Now we come to today, where Heriot-Watt University has 5 campuses, 3 in Scotland, 1 in Dubai, and 1 in Malaysia. We still really pursue the same mission that we started with, which is enabling people to learn, upskill, and earn while they are learning. So the university now has around 30,000 students. More than half of our students are outside the United Kingdom. They are either in our campuses in Dubai and Malaysia, or with our approved learning partners, or studying online. A fun fact about the university: we were the first university in the UK to admit women in 1874. Interestingly, we take it for granted now that women can vote and go to university, but this has not always been the case. And I'm personally proud that Heriot-Watt University was the university that decided that women should be educated on equal terms with men. We continue to push the educational boundaries. And currently, I just want to quickly say something about the work that we are leading on from Malaysia. Every member of staff and every one of our students needs to develop what we call an impact statement, a statement of self-awareness, a statement of articulation of purpose, and a plan for how to mobilize that purpose into positive impact on the world. And we believe that this is extremely important at a time where we are facing global challenges and we are having young people who struggle in knowing what to do. If you are like me, when I speak to young people, including my own children, and I say, what do you want to do in the future? The answer, not sure, is what I receive most of the time. There are still people who are very sure about what they want to do and how they want to go about it, but there are more people who are not sure about what do they want to do with their life. And I believe that work with our students to help them articulate their sense of purpose is an extremely important thing that we do in a highly technological world. Now, before I move into the mobility and its importance, I just wanted to tell you that at Heriot-Watt University, the entire university, all its campuses and online, we operate on the same academic calendar. So if you are studying thermodynamics in Dubai or Malaysia or the UK, you start at the same time, you end at the same time. The courses are all delivered by global course teams that could be led from any of our campuses. And what that enables, it enables a seamless movement of our students between our different campuses. So literally, students could take their class in thermodynamics on Monday, and after they complete it, they take an aeroplane and go to Dubai and land there, and maybe the next class, which is happening on Wednesday or Thursday, will be something that is following the same sequence that they would have been doing if they stayed in Malaysia. So that enables many of our students to move between our campuses. And indeed, every year, close to 250 students from Malaysia go and transfer to both Dubai, but mainly to our Edinburgh campus. Now, the interesting thing that our unique structure is enabling is our Scottish students, our students in the UK, for them to also come and study in Malaysia. And at the highest levels before COVID, we actually attracted 120 students from the UK to study in Malaysia. Now, this is actually quite unique because while Malaysia as a country is able to attract students from the region, I don't think the country has been that successful in attracting students from Western background. And Heriot-Watt University was the most successful university in attracting high number of Western students. I'm not talking about this from a point of view of the Western students being different or anything, but I think I'm talking about diversity on campus. So if you look at Heriot-Watt University campus here before COVID, number one source of our international students was the UK. And that creates a situation in which the diversity, the cultural richness that is created by having both the East and the West, being together, I think it creates a very unique learning environment in our views. Now, mobility to us is not a luxury. We believe that people who are able to do the learning within a global setting, whether hopefully through traveling or through doing global work, whereby they are able to be part of projects that have students from different campuses, being able to be exposed to academics and researchers from different cultures and different backgrounds. When the students have that exposure, they will be in a better position to provide solutions in a world that is highly globalized, a world that is highly uncertain, and a world that is highly complex. So the challenges that we faced are global challenges, and in order for us to build professionals who are able to address them, we need that global dimension. So for us, our aspiration is that each and every one of our students, whether in Malaysia, in Dubai, or in the UK, will be able to do something that has a global dimension while they are learning. So this could be to travel to another campus for a semester, a year, or two. We also introduced a concept of a 2-week study trip. So some of the students who can't afford to, for example, go for a longer time in the UK, we provide them with the opportunity to go for 2 weeks. We do that usually in January. It's too cold in Scotland, so the accommodation is cheaper, but that's what our students like. And particularly if they are lucky, they may enjoy snow as well. And we also work with our alumni organization, which is the Watt Club, on raising funds so that students who are unable to support that travel, whether they are from the UK or from other campuses, we actually have some limited but meaningful funding so that they could do the travel and do and experience the global nature of our university and of our community as well. Some interesting sort of feedback or responses that we have received. I think it goes without saying, no employer I speak with or to did not value the students who have some experience of studying, learning, and living abroad. Clearly, this is an experience that widens people's horizons, build their confidence, and expose them to different cultures. And these are extremely valuable attributes that absolutely employers do recognize and do value and do select for. So it goes without saying, and I'm sure other colleagues I assume would agree with me. But the interesting thing that we've noticed, and this could be quite unique to us, we've noticed that when we get the students from the UK to transfer here to Malaysia, almost all of them improve in their academic performance. And there is a very interesting cultural sort of rubbing off that is happening, because our students in Malaysia are generally very serious. They are watched by parents who have paid quite a bit of money to get them through education. And when the students from both our Edinburgh campus and the students here, in Edinburgh, most of the students actually don't pay tuition fees because education is free in Scotland for the Scottish students, and the government actually pay for that. So, but when they come here, the Malaysian students would say, you are not going away. You are with me. We ought to finish this report because I won't allow your work ethics to bring my marks down. And sometimes just because our students, when they are done, the Malaysian students, they are going into the library, they are revising and they are working, and the other students, instead of, they say, maybe if they are in the UK, they would have gone back or maybe found a part-time job or did something like that. Here, they actually become much more focused on their studies. So there is almost a grade point up that happens for the students, which is actually very significant. Now, interestingly, when this program started, one of the fears was, when you get the students to transfer from Edinburgh to Malaysia, how would their performance be affected? And it was affected actually very positively. So these were things that very reassuring actually for us, and they were we believe, quite unique for the university and the way that we do things. So I think ultimately we are, as educational institutions, are in the business of building leaders who are able to deal with complexities and deal with the challenges of our new world. And as we do that, we are doing it against a background where the knowledge, the academic knowledge, is becoming taken more for granted, and what is required is more of mindset growth and building of character, building of resilience. And these are the things that are, I sometimes called soft skills, but they are hard to learn, hard to teach, and even harder to measure and quantify and test for. So I believe that the working in a global kind of environment will continue to be valued highly by employers. One point I want to add before I end is we also face the climate crisis, and mobility of staff and student brings along additional emission and carbon footprint. So I think one of the challenges that we continue to have as academic leaders is how do we balance that commitment to bringing down emission. We operate in countries like in the UK wants to bring emission to net zero by 2035. Malaysia has a similar plan to bring that by 2050. So how can we keep the momentum of our mobility and the physical travel so that people could experience all of that learning, but at the same time maintaining our emission and working towards the global effort towards net zero, which is extremely important. So this remains actually an active area for us to consider and work on. I shall stop here, and I'm really very pleased to speak with all of you and speak to you. I heard that I was very happy to know that there were 500 people online, only for my hopes to be dashed to know there are only 60. But anyway, I think any number is good, and I'm sure this is going to be recorded and be available for the future. But I'm very happy also to take any questions if there are, or I'm in the good hands of my very good friend Jason, and I shall stop here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you. Jason, you are on mute.
Just because I like people saying that to me and say that you're always on mute. But thank you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I think it's a unique opportunity in terms of Heriot Watt. I think also the emphasis on what happens next. Heriot Watt talking about the alumni. They put great emphasis in the friendships and the partnerships and networking. Doesn't finish when students graduate. There's also the afterlife following graduation. So that synergy between the campuses, the opportunities to travel, and it's embedded in some of us try to embed that into the curriculum. It is a major part of what Heriot Watt does, and with great success. As you can see, it's very difficult to measure, but as Mushtaq highlighted, students coming become suddenly quite serious when they come from the UK to Malaysia, but it's also the working in collaborative groups and partnerships. I've heard a lot of good things coming from the students about how they work together at Heriot Watt campus here in Malaysia. So yeah, we're delighted for that sort of sharing experience, but I do think Heriot Watt is unique in what it does, and it takes a lot of effort to keep that going, to coordinate between movement between semesters and years between 3 different campuses. Requires an awful lot of work, and I think that's one of the major things. Friendships, networks, requires constant effort and constant cultivation, and so these sort of milestones that we have throughout the year make sure that we maintain that, because you never know when someone will come and drop you an email and a text message and say, listen, could you spare some time? And that is life. And I think we're all, because Mushtaq will know, Verita, who's a friend of ours, I jumped in and helped with an event yesterday, and it's what we do. That I think that's why it's someone that you can pick up the phone and contact. And I think students really need to understand that that alumni and that network of friendships leverage on them when you graduate. So you've got a great opportunity at Heriot Watt with different campuses, but you're joining a community, and you feel that on campus and through the alumni. So thank you for sharing. Colleagues, any other?
I'd just like to say, I think sorry, first of all, thank you before jumping in. It's great to see you. I think I haven't seen you for quite some time. One of the events many years ago, with 2 years of non-movement of anybody, most people have just been a little block on a screen. So next time, Jason's popping over to visit Heriot Watt. I've seen the campus from the lake. I've not actually been on the campus, so there you go. I got the thumbs up. We'll call it a what do you call it? A knowledge sharing exercise. There you go. That'll do. But yeah, I think the concept that they're called soft skills, and as you say, they are anything but soft. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of effort, and they're probably the hardest skills for anybody to develop. And that's why I think the Friends Project has actually helped students to maybe understand some of that, because they're trying to present their ideas and their concepts, what they've learned. And I think, yeah, it's difficult. And as you'll see from both Jason and I, the hard work does have other effects on us.
Yes. So I just wanted to very quickly add, when I use the term soft skills,
I can't hear. Sorry, I need to put my.
Can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah. So I just wanted very quickly to say, there are people who don't like the term soft skills. I actually like the term soft skills, because these skills to me are as soft as silk. So for silk to be soft, it does not make it easier to make, and it does not make it any less appreciated. So I don't see it as something negative, and I know there are people who are trying to find even a replacement term, but I embrace that they are soft as silk.
Exactly. Yes. It's all the hard work, and we're going to get feedback. Sorry. Yes, it's the hard work that pays off in the end. Whether you're an international footballer, a golfer, or an astronaut, 3 random careers. You've got to put the effort in. If you don't put the effort in, you're not going to get the benefits at the end. And I think what we're saying is that these skills are really beneficial. If you're not that good at them yet, keep persevering, because they will help you. And through working with other students, finding out about their cultures, just getting to know each other. We're all neighbours. Everybody needs good neighbours, because It's not finished yet. With a little understanding, you can find that perfect way. Neighbours should be there for one another. And that's when good neighbours become good friends. To quote a soap opera from Australia that will be ending, as the last episode has been shot, and it will be aired in the UK very soon. Anyway, so that's another aside. So thank you, Mushtaq, for attending today. I don't see any questions in the. I'm jumping between Facebook and the right Facebook page now, and the YouTube channel. No questions coming through there. I'm just going to check see if any of the students in the room have got any questions, because I might as well, get them to feel panicky for a second. Any questions?
No.
No. Right. Okay. A resounding no. I think they're just too scared, or they're just worried about the next session, because now that we've completed your session, thank you very much again for attending today, and we will see you hopefully very soon. Take care. Bye bye. Okay, well, the next part of today's session is where our 4 students really will start to panic, because we're about to turn the camera, or cameras, I don't know, we could turn multiple cameras on them so they can't hide. There you go. Yes, just to find out what they learned from the module, what they experienced when they were in Bulgaria, and I just need to remove my backdrop. So let me go to remove the backdrop. None. And hopefully, okay. So we've got. There we go. We have our 4 Bulgaria bootcamp winners. You can introduce yourselves to everybody.
Hello, my name is Kujalian. I'm studying in cybersecurity.
Hi, my name is Ansonic and I'm studying intelligence system.
My name is Siman and I'm studying in data analytics.
I'm Jia and I'm studying cybersecurity.
Okay, so you recently came back from your 4-week trip to Bulgaria. From the photos that we saw, it looked like you had a great time. But before we talk about that, if we go back to the beginning of the module, when you first started the module, you're all doing a computing program of one sort or another. And you're expecting to do computing, maths, programming, analysis and design, database architecture, the whole works. And then you're told you're doing an intercultural awareness and cultural diversity module, which sounds like it's got absolutely nothing to do with computing whatsoever. So, what did you first think when you found out about that module?
I thought it was quite fun. It can be a relaxing way because I like the arts, and then it's like taking a break from the stressful and then technical ones, and then you can actually draw or relive your memory a little bit and then share about your cultural experiences.
So a change is as good as a rest. There's one phrase. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, because I know a lot of students, they think it's got nothing to do with computing. I don't see why I should be doing it because it's not going to help me program any better. But what benefits do you think it brings to you as computing students? Maybe not now, but when you go out and you'll be doing an internship in about a year's time, won't you? What sort of skills do you think you're able to take into that internship and then into your future jobs?
Because career science, collaboration and teamwork is actually a very important aspect in our work life. So we collaborate with designers, we collaborate with our product manager. All of the instructions must be conveyed clearly, and certainly intercultural awareness there holds a certain weight in these kind of aspects because we can communicate, we discuss, we accept everything with open-minded, and we are willing to accept any changes.
Thank you. And we said, our normal IACD modules are unscripted, and so is this question and answer session. So they don't know what questions I'm going to ask, but so far, 2 out of 2. Okay, right. Let's move on. So you then had to create your digital story. How difficult was it to think of something to put into that story? Because you've heard there's been about 1,537 digital stories so far. I have to say a lot of them are sounding a bit like a travel log. I went to normally, and I know, okay, in this group as well. I went to Japan, but it's sort of I went to Japan and I saw this and I did that and I really enjoyed it. The food was great. I came back to Malaysia. There's no journey. Okay, it's a physical journey, but not a mental one. So how difficult was it to identify something you could talk about in your own stories?
Actually, for me, it's not that difficult because I'm just thinking in different areas. Oh, I actually got a lot of friends from different race. Maybe I can take it as the story. Then I just started to draw and make my digital story.
So you just say, just looking back at what you've done, what you've learned, your experiences. Okay, good. And so then, about 9 months ago, I suppose, 9 months, maybe 6 months ago, about 6 months ago, we announced the winners.
Yeah.
And then you found out that the COVID pandemic actually worked in your favor.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the
Yes,
only.
because the first group of students who were supposed to go, they were supposed to go about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that session just got pushed back. And because of the requirements for the Erasmus project, students still need to be a student at APU, so don't fail, until November 2022. No, so it's 2022, yes. December, if you want to fail, you can. It doesn't matter about the Erasmus project. Hopefully you won't fail. But you have to be students until that point. And the students who won those places originally were graduating, so we're no longer eligible. So we then had to identify some new students. And I don't think we actually told many people about it because we weren't sure if the boot camp was actually going to happen. So I don't think we ever said, if you do a great digital story, you're going to actually win this particular. You didn't know.
It was very surprising.
So, what did you think when you found out, and what did your family say?
My family was very encouraging when I first saw it. I actually cried.
Emotion is good.
Because I saw it sponsored, and then that was my first time ever traveling to Europe. So it was very, very special. And then being first time traveling there and being with all these friends. I mean, they are great, very amazing roommates. I would have never had the chance if I did well in these modules. I'm very grateful for that. They're very supportive. They just said, yeah, we could go because it was sponsored as well.
So yes, not much of an impact on your families. Yes, yeah,
new experience.
Yes, yeah. So is it anybody else's first trip to Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how was it?
It is so fun.
It's fun.
No, it's unique. It's a very
Unique experience.
Because we're being with our friends, and then it's not with our family. If we were going with our family, we wouldn't be experiencing all of this. We wouldn't experience the dorm life, the going to the grocery, buying groceries ourselves, cooking. I mean, the food wasn't great. But I mean, the food we cooked by ourselves wasn't amazing, but it's still edible. So, and it's fun every single time. So that was a nice experience. The food that they prepared in DUM is good. We ate a lot.
The dinner.
But yeah, the food wise, it's acceptable. They really accommodated us. They know we like they know Asians like rice. They did prepare a lot of rice for us, and then the one that we found a little bit odd taste is the tap water.
Yeah,
we weren't used to that at first. They say we could drink directly from it. We tried. I tried. At the first time, I couldn't accept it, and then we bought mineral water from the store. But then at the end of the day, at the end of the trip, I got used to it. I drank it like normal water. It's fine for me.
So yes. it is. There are lots of differences between Asia and Europe.
Yes.
Yes.
Like you've already mentioned the food. What other big difference did you spot?
They don't wear masks.
Yeah. You get stared if you wear masks.
Just there when we are wearing a mask.
Like if you're Asian, you're already getting stared at.
Yeah.
But if you're
Asian
wearing a
with
mask,
mask.
you're more like, oh, is something going to happen? But
And then
so
I have
only
a unique experience. While I'm walking on the street, I'm wearing a mask. Then suddenly one lady walking towards me. She stared at me, she stopped and shouted at me. I don't know why. She said, mask. She's like angry about me wearing a mask. I don't know why.
What did you do?
Then just I'm just walking.
Yeah, because in Europe, the use of masks mostly vanished about 6 months ago. I've travelled to Poland on the Friends Project a couple of weeks ago. I was in the UK a couple of months ago, and yeah, it just feels very strange when you go out and when you go to Europe, mainly the UK, especially January, February time. You do appreciate the mask more because it does keep your face warm. And not wearing a mask, I found my cheeks got very cold. So there are benefits. But okay, so you mentioned masks, I mentioned COVID, and there was that brief period where, so there were 46 students in total? 49, right, yeah. So there were 49 students in total from across the 12 institutions. And then about, was it end of week 2, week 3?
I think
Week 1.
Yeah.
Was it week 1?
And
Okay,
one.
right, okay.
They started getting
2 students
Yes.
were diagnosed as being COVID positive,
Yes.
and then the whole of the boot camp had to go into lockdown.
Yes, for 1 week. Yeah.
But 2 of you had another interesting experience where, and it doesn't happen very often, you had a false positive test. Oh, you're sitting together now, you see, that's why. There you go. Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Because back here in Malaysia, we were thinking, oh my goodness, right? We didn't want to contact your parents straight away because we thought, let's find out all the details first. Because if we contact your parents and say, we've just heard, and they say, but we've not found out about this and what's going on, your parents will start panicking. Anyway, we waited to find out more, and we found out that it was a false positive, and you were absolutely fine, which was great. But you still had to spend, is it 5 days?
5 days, yeah.
5 days.
5 days.
So what was that like? Because you will have experienced 6 months of not being able to do anything in Malaysia. 5 days of not being able to do much in
Oh my
Bulgaria, but you would have kept busy, I suspect.
It's an exam week.
Yeah, it was
exam
exam
week.
week.
So we were busy with our exams.
So it was beneficial then. So
Yeah.
so at least you were able to concentrate on your APU exam. So that's fantastic. So, but we'll find out the results of those maybe in the July exam boards. It might be the July. So we're already in July. The November exam boards. Hopefully you did well. Yes. So how different was the sort of the impact of COVID when you all had to go into lockdown compared to Malaysia?
Both of us had COVID before we went to the trip. So the difference is if they were to have COVID there, we couldn't really provide them with nutritious food. Firstly, we don't really know how to cook. Yeah, we can't go to the grocery stores. That's not, I mean, if we're sick, we eat porridge or we eat hot noodles, right? But there's limited options there, so we can't really provide them for that. They have to eat bread.
Eat pizza.
It's quite heaty, you know. So the main difference is food-wise. You can't really provide them. We can only eat vitamin C, which we brought, and then pray for their immune system. You know, I hope your immune system is strong enough. But luckily, they got false positive. That's why.
Oh, that was good. So yeah, there's always a positive with the negative when you're positive. Yes. we'd like to.
It's in rehearsal.
It is so much for rehearsal, yes. It's a bit like, yeah, I will do either one. In Malaysia, right is wrong, but left is right. I'll let you think about that one. So right is wrong, and left is right. It's in Malaysia, it's in the UK, it's in Australia, but it's not in Bulgaria.
You mean
In Bulgaria, right is right, and
left is
left is wrong. Anyway, yeah, so just keep thinking about that one. That's a teaser for you. So you managed to mix with all these different groups of people from the 12 institutions.
Yes.
You met the staff from the European institutions. How different was it interacting with the staff and the students compared to when you were in Malaysia?
For the staff-wise, like for example, our lecturers, they told us to call them by their first name, right? It was really weird. I still call them Miss. I feel like I have to be. I still have to
Even the
give them
sirs,
a
you call
certain
them
level of
Miss.
respect. And then if you want to go to the toilet, you just leave. You don't have to ask, but I find it quite odd, right? Someone just leaves in the middle of class. Like, what if they don't come back? What's going to happen?
I worried about that when these two left a minute ago. You know, Jason the Swan just got up and walked off. I thought, they'll just leave me to it now. But anyway, they came back. That's okay. Yes, it is a very different approach. And I assume by the end of it, you got used to that.
Yeah, we got used to that.
Okay.
And then the courses were very engaging. It focuses more on engagement.
Yeah, engagement.
There's a lot of
Presentation.
presentation.
Yes.
So how do you think those experiences will help you now that you're back at APU, and then again thinking about your internship and then when you get a job?
Being more open to have a discussion with others, I think. Like you actually put in an effort to think about a solution rather than just sitting there and waiting for people to give me the solution, I think. Yeah.
That's a good characteristic, because it doesn't matter where you are. If there's a problem, you shouldn't go to your, if it's an internship or when you're working, you shouldn't go to your line manager or your boss and then say, there's a problem. Your boss will be saying, okay,
then give me the solution.
Yeah, what sort of solutions are there? Yeah, and then you can come back with a series of them, and you weigh up the pros and cons of each one. But that happens in all industries, whether that's education, whether that's automotive, whatever it is. That skill will be useful. What about, obviously you worked very hard, but you must also have experienced a lot of the culture and some of the areas around Bulgaria. So what were the most exciting things that you saw or experienced outside the classroom?
We went to museums.
Church.
Bulgaria is very old city, so it's a lot of historical sites. You saw a lot of statues, sculptures, and then the museums. Oh, it was amazing. A lot of museums. We went to the ones in Varna also, and then we looked at a lot of things. And then the paintings in the chapel, the interior. Oh, it's amazing how they did that.
Even if it's a small town like Dobrik, they value arts very much, and then their people really enjoy their life with that, and it's quite interesting because here everyone walks very fast. And then at there, parents just spend time with their kids, just walking around, bringing them to museums, telling them the history regarding to their town. Even a small town has a lot of history inside, and they really like the things they're doing, and
they value like what our professor said, like they value their imagination. So there's an art gallery there, which is quite rare. I don't see art galleries here. I don't visit art galleries here. So it's nice to see that they have a little class like for the kids to join. Like it's like daycare or whatever. It's like just a free a time for the children to engage in this
Trip to
arts.
the museum.
And then you can learn more about the arts, and then they can do like play, painting, whatever they
Their
do.
language.
Yeah.
They value
Writing
their
exercise.
language, their alphabets.
I do have a follow-up question on that. So that's the observations.
Yeah.
So now that you are back here, so you're still thinking about the line there.
Yeah.
So is that a thing or one thing that you will do differently now?
Maybe I'll value exercise more, because over there we did walk a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not, when we first went there, they say, the door to the school is like a 10 minutes walking distance.
Yeah.
But we don't walk that much in Malaysia because it's too hot. So we're like, what? 10 minutes. So we got used to it eventually, but it's nice, like there's a daily walking session.
So
It's
you
like
will exercise more.
yeah.
Next one. What would you do differently? One thing.
I learn how to cook.
Yeah.
So would you start cooking more?
Yeah, I
or-
actually cook for my family, like first time.
Wow. Okay. What's your first dish?
Carbonara, spaghetti.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. And
I'm not that picky. Because I'm vegetarian, there's not much choices for me, so I just eat whatever's on my plate.
so you're less picky now.
Yeah,
let's
I'm
say.
less picky.
Okay. And the only
For
thought
me,
among the
maybe I'm more open to people because I'm actually quite shy now. I like to more like interact with more people. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, when we met you before,
Yeah.
You
It
went.
really changed.
Yeah.
you were very quiet, and I remember saying you're going to go to Bulgaria as a boy, and you'll come back as a man.
No, you didn't say that.
I did.
You said that.
No, this is
Jason said that you were
Okay,
You
right.
said otherwise.
Okay. It'll be it'll be Jason that said it then, because obviously it was something bad. Anyway, so yes, but yes, you've obviously developed that confidence.
Yes.
When you walked in earlier, yes, you walked in more confidently than last time. So I think that's a great sort of experience for you as well. So hopefully all those skills will help you in the future. If you've got a message, I do have one more question. Have you been in contact with any of the students from the other institutions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we still keep in touch.
We still keep
We
in
have
touch, right?
Instagram friend group.
Yeah.
Quite active. They call
Regularly,
regularly.
like
Yeah.
every week.
Every week, and then he's always there.
Yeah, he's always there.
He's always there. Even when we're busy, he's there. So if we want to catch up with them, we'll
Yeah.
listen.
We'll listen to his stories.
They call until very late. We have a great relationship over there. That's a very strong one. I love it. Everyone's so accepting. Everyone's so supportive.
Fantastic. So hopefully then that will mean that you've got places to go and visit and people to stay with, which is what we always say when students first start. Make sure you make friends with as many people as you can, especially those from other countries and backgrounds, because you've probably got a floor to sleep on, if nothing else. And the worst you'll have to do, well, maybe not the worst. Yeah, probably the worst you have to do is just pay for. The worst is you've got to pay for a flight and a hotel. Anyway, I know what I'm trying to say. You might just have to pay for a flight.
Pay for your flight.
Yes,
Yes,
and then you've
yes.
probably got the rest all thrown
And
in.
then local
Yes,
recommendations.
yeah. So hopefully that will continue. But so the last thing I was going to say was, if you've got a message for your hosts in Varna, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it,
Okay.
because they will be watching this. I don't know whether they're going to be joining live. They might not be, but they will watch the recording later on. Have you got a message for everybody in Varna?
Thank you so
Christina
much.
is in WhatsApp.
Sorry?
Christina is in WhatsApp.
Oh, she?
Yeah.
Is she watching?
No.
Oh, right. Okay,
She's
right.
on holiday, but
Oh, she-
I told her about this thing.
Okay, we'll be able to tell her, send us the link, and if there's a fantastic quote, we'll send Christina that quote in seconds. So, what would you like to say?
Firstly, thank you so much.
Thank you so
A
much.
sincere thank you, really. They really did accommodate us. And then the food that the food that how do you say, the kitchen?
Buffet.
No, not buffet. The cafeteria auntie. How do you say? No, the people who prepared food for us, they are really, really nice people. And then they always smile at us because but the first time we went there, maybe the portion was too little. And then I said more. They didn't really understand. Maybe they weren't familiar with English. They were just looking at each other in like shock. What is she saying? But then we finally knew that more means like wash day. So whenever we had wash day, they will just give us more, and then they are just very happy that we like their food. So thanks to them, we did stuff. And then the food was really great. And then the teachers were wonderful. They were very they noticed us, and then they really wanted to help us understand more about the topic. They were really helpful with that. And everyone was amazing.
And thank you for walking us everywhere, to the money changer, to the COVID tests, to clinics, to tests.
And then we wanted to thank Christina because in that time when the cashier, she miscounted and then she calculated 10 liters water for us when we only bought 4. We took 4, but she miscalculated. She registered 7. And then thank you for Christina to
fought for you.
And then we got a refund thanks to her. We couldn't communicate with the cashier because like language barrier. But then thanks to Christina, our money was back. Then we had 30 liters. We didn't waste 30 liters of water. Water was very important to us.
Okay.
I do have one last thing. Now that you're back, you don't want to forget your experiences.
I would never want.
So what we want you to do now is that you can spread that here at APU. That's the first step.
Okay,
so
how is it?
There's no free lunch,
I know.
Right? And then we want you to, we have a lot of international students as well.
Okay.
Now you are the senior per se. We can get the local students to be a lot more comfortable with APU, as well as playing host to the international students.
I see.
You see now, huh? I think there's some certain follow-up activities that you guys can come up with.
Okay.
This place is yours to manage, to friends. This that you can all pass it down to the junior.
I see.
And this project doesn't just stop here.
Okay.
So it should continue. All the good experiences that you guys have got, can pass it, spread it. I don't think the other students will be as lucky as you guys to get to go to Bulgaria. I don't think so.
Maybe not to Bulgaria, but there might be opportunities through our other Erasmus projects for different.
Christina just next.
Oh yeah, we got the Bulgaria one as well. Yes, yeah. So there is an opportunity to go back to Bulgaria.
But still a very small number of students. So together you guys can then spread the spirit, as I say.
Yes, yeah.
So that's most
I think one of the things we said we would like is a digital story to sort of tell us about your experience while you were at the boot camp. We haven't given you a deadline for it, but we'll work on that later. Is it Friday at 5 p.m. now?
It's Wednesday at 12.
Oh, Wednesday at 12. Okay, yeah. So we will be in touch. And I know that this is the next shock. When we did the pre-departure session, I think the president and the VC were there. They were asking whether you got back safely, even though I told them that you got back safely anyway. So they've been reminded that you got back safely, that you had a good time. And I think they might just want to meet you again just to say hello and just sort of, again, just sort of tell them what you experienced and how beneficial it was. So thank you very much to all of you. It was great to be able to send you there, because it doesn't happen very often that we can do that. And it's great to get you back in one piece. I say bigger than you were before, not because of all the food. Okay, maybe you put on weight with the more. Please, sir, give me more. But yeah, in your ability to understand and work in international communities. So thank you very much. It was great to see you all. Anything from? No? No? Okay. Well, you can now stand down. You can watch from outside if you want. Tell all your friends to tune in. We're going to be moving to our next session in a moment. Right, anything? No? So, once again, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all soon. That's okay, because, okay, let me now just, we've got those back on. Jerry, if you are there, could you put the slides back on the screen, please? Thank you very much. Okay, so our next speaker is IaH. IaH is the Vice Director for Global Education Partnerships at the Istanbul Aydın University in Turkey. We have been to the university for previous meetings. It is a nice university, and IaH is involved in a lot of global education activities, including the EURI. Now, I'm going to find it on the screen now because I know it says it here somewhere. EURI, the Eurasia Higher Education Summit. She does a lot of training, a lot of workshops with the international office staff, and she has been one of the bigger players within the group. I saw her 2-3 weeks ago when I was at the meetings in Poland. Again, not only an academic and a collaborator with APU, but another person we will call a friend. Jerry, I think we can now go to the session. I think she'll be appearing. Okay. So this should be
live underneath my picture. I don't. Do you?
Yes, it's live according to me.
Okay. Well, very good afternoon to you from Istanbul. So it's now noon here, and you left me to the end. So most of my things that I was going to mention, you already said. So like, that's a shame, but I'll try to, make it less repetitive and try to include sort of new things in there as we go along. So yes, I work at Istanbul Aydın University, and I'm part of the Friends project, and we've been working together on this project for 3 years now. I had a chance to sort of think about these issues more than usual because of this project as well. So that was really a benefit for my professional development as well. So let me add that from the beginning. So next slide, please, Andy. So let me just start with a very sort of brief definition of what culture is. It's the way of life, customs, and beliefs of a particular group of people in a particular sort of time period. So next slide, after stating the obvious, but I think there are two very useful metaphors about culture, and one is the onion and the other one is the iceberg. So basically the outer shell of the onion, what you see first, or the tip of the iceberg, again, what is very visible instantly to everyone's eye, are the physical artifacts and attributes of a culture. So the way people speak, the way sort of they dress, those are, instantly recognizable things that you know about a culture. But then sort of as you go inside the onion, the inside layers of the onion, or just like towards the sort of the sea level of the iceberg, there are the norms and values associated with a culture. And these are not instantly recognizable, but if you spend time with a person from a different culture, talk to them about, sort of political issues or like work life or things like that, you begin to understand these different sort of norms and values associated with that culture. And then, like, inside the onion, just in the middle, or like the larger part of the iceberg that is underneath the water, underneath the ocean, and you don't instantly recognize or see or even, sort of understand initially without a lot of reflection, are the deep-rooted assumptions about how the world works that are associated with a particular culture that you were sort of growing up in, right? So it really takes a lot of sort of understanding and reflection to understand sort of what culture is and how it affects the way we sort of interact with the world. So next slide, please. So culture is always fluid and changing, but we think it's given and stable. That's a major sort of misconception about culture. And the easiest way to understand how culture changes is if you look at a certain, let's say, national culture in your own country, and then, look at the differences of opinion, of lifestyles, of norms and values between generations. You can clearly understand that in any sort of particular context, culture changes and from generation to generation. And what's really interesting, I think, in our times is, a generation used to be maybe 20, 30 years or something. Now it's like almost, I think, 3 to 5 years, what we can call a generation, because technology is changing so much that, a generation is not just your grandfather, your father, and yourself, but a generation is, I think, just 3 to 5 years with the pace of technological changes and the changes in our lifestyle. So you can see culture changing even sort of more quickly. And another sort of, I think, important sort of metaphor about culture is they are like the glasses through which we see the world. And I'll come back to this in a bit. So next slide, please. So, of course, when we talk about culture, most of the time, like international sort of students or traveling across countries, there seems to be this sort of overlapping between nations and cultures. So we think of a culture usually in national terms, like a Malaysian culture or Turkish culture. But we know, of course, nations and cultures do not need to overlap, because we know, for example, in Malaysia, there are 3 different sort of cultures within the nation with different sort of religions, languages, ethnic origins, values, norms, and deep-rooted assumptions. Again, going back to that sort of iceberg metaphor, really deep-rooted assumptions about how the world works. So there are subcultures within the nations, and there are, I think this is important to know, cultures that transcend nations. I think today in the global economy and with the advent of the communication technologies, we can really talk about a youth culture that transcends easily national boundaries. Young people all over the world, I think, share many sort of cultural traits and lifestyles and certain values. So I think we can talk about definitely cultures that transcend the nations as well. So next slide, please. Now, here is the real sort of chicken and egg issue. Does culture shape us, or do we shape culture? And the answer is really, it's a loop. It's both, right? So culture shapes how we perceive even time and space, right? You may think, how is that? Time is like, 60 minutes, 24 hours, a month, a year, it's the same everywhere. Well, no, because, for example, again, if you look at culture, how it sort of affects our perception of time, it's quite different. You may, for example, go to an agricultural community, and then time is really slow moving, slow paced. People are not living in a hurry, always trying to catch up. But if you go to a big city, and this could be Istanbul or KL, time, our perception of time is that time is just sort of moving so fast. We need to sort of rush to get to everywhere, to catch up with things and everything. So our perception of time changes according to the culture, and culture is not necessarily, let's say, this nation or that nation. It could be agricultural versus sort of rural communities versus urban cultures, for example. Culture shapes our notion of space. Every sort of culture has a sort of personal bubble, personal space where you feel comfortable, for example, and safe. And for Turks, that's I don't know, like a shorter, distance or a smaller space. Could be the same in Malaysia as well. And there was a joke recently I read about the Swedish people, for example, saying, "Oh, good thing this COVID space 2.5 meters is over. Now we can go back to our 5 meters. Thank God." I mean, this sort of notion of space even is culturally sort of perceived, right? Of course, relations between society and individual, and we know this very well because, in certain cultures, the society, the community, in fact, they prefer the word community rather than sometimes society. That is more important. Whereas, let's say, in what we call sort of Western cultures, the individual is more important. The values and the, let's say, the accomplishments and the personal freedom, all of that is sort of more important than society. So this is always sort of the relation between the society and the individual is always sort of mediated through cultural norms and values. Gender roles, this is like very, very deeply culturally rooted, right? Which genders have more sort of visibility in public spaces, which gender takes up more sort of leadership roles in business or politics, which genders have more sort of caring roles in the family, etc. So these are really culturally mediated things. How we work and play. This is, again, shaped very much by our cultures. In some societies, you see people working for the same company for 40 years, right? And they work maybe day and night, and like office hours don't mean anything. So if you devote your life to the same company, and your career is such a big, important part of your life and your identity even, right? You don't turn off your computer at 5 o'clock, right? In some cultures, it's sort of expected that you work overtime. Whereas in other cultures, 5 minutes before 5, people turn off their computers and are out of the building. Right? So these are very different sort of approaches to how we work and play that are very much culturally shaped. I don't want to use the word determined. That's too much. I say shaped. Andy, next slide, please. And now this is the other sort of side of the loop. We also shape the culture. The culture is not something given to us by nature, by God, or anything else. One of the important shapers of culture is really the national education system that we go through, right? That gives us many of the sort of the norms and values that we hold dear in our culture. And that's like, especially that, kindergarten and then the K-12 education is very instrumental in shaping a national culture because it's sort of mandatory. All the children go through that sort of system and come out of it. with a certain sort of culture. So what you teach in your schools, especially in that early level, is very much how we shape the national culture. Socialization and family in smaller groups especially is very much how we shape and sort of transmit our cultural values to the next generations. But there are also things that are not exactly sort of in our immediate control. For example, the advent of new technologies and how we adopt these new technologies and how we sort of use these new technologies very much change the culture. Again, how we work, how we play, I said, is very much determined by culture, is very much shaped by culture. But here we go. Now we are using these sort of mobile phones all the time, always in our hands. And now we're sort of addicted to it all over the world. Again, sort of transcending national boundaries here. And this is affecting how we work, how we play, how we interact with our peers, with our friends and our colleagues. Certainly you can say that it has become more difficult to sort of separate family time, personal time from business time or study time, because these are all available on our sort of mobile phone all the time. Our attention span is much shorter because we are addicted to these technologies, right? So this is very much changing our culture, I think, again, very quickly because of these technological changes. And of course, our everyday experiences and actions change the culture. We are now living through a global pandemic, and because we are right in the middle of it, we may not realize this now, but I think some years down the line, we'll go back to this time and look at it and see really the changing of the culture because of the global pandemic. The way we, again, interact with our colleagues, with our peers has changed so much. We have spent much more time in isolation, much more time in digital spaces than in physical spaces, right? So I think because of the effect of the pandemic, because of the changes in our everyday experiences and actions, this will become really an important cultural change. In a few years' time, I think we'll be able to see this clearly. I think people maybe will become more sort of digitalized, and personal face-to-face interactions will become less important in our studies, in our work life, in our personal lives, etc. And we'll be able to see this. This is how everyday experiences and actions really shape our culture. Right. So next slide, please. So of course, when we talk about culture, the next thing that comes to mind is cultural diversity, defined as the existence of a variety of cultural groups within a society. This means a variety of ways of thinking, believing, acting. So basically different interpretations of reality. And if I go back to that sort of wearing the glasses, the culture is like the glasses that you wear, and that's through those glasses, through those lenses, you see the world. Cultural diversity means people have a lot of different glasses and therefore a lot of different interpretations of reality. Next slide, please. 1 minute, okay, all right. So basically then, in a culturally diverse setting, when people are basically looking at the same thing and interpreting it differently, you have this possibility, a very high probability that there will be sort of misunderstandings, disagreements, and even conflict, right? So in order to avoid some of this conflict, we need intercultural awareness. Next slide, please. So what does intercultural awareness means? Understanding different points of view associated with other cultures. Now, this is the easy part. Now, you talked about this before in the beginning of this sort of session. especially when you go abroad or when you meet people from different cultures, ethnicities, languages, religions, different walks of life, when you sit down and talk to them over this sort of virtual rooftop in a sort of gaming environment, for example, it is easy. It's not that difficult to understand that people have a different way of looking at things. People hold different things dear to them than you do, So, and then you can sort of begin to reflect that this really stems from their sort of different cultural background. What is, I think, more difficult is developing an awareness of your own views, assumptions, and beliefs, and how they are shaped by your culture, right? The understanding how other people are thinking and acting differently is not that difficult. But understanding that your own actions and beliefs are also very particular and they stem from your own culture is sort of more difficult. Having this sort of self-awareness is really the most difficult, I think, part of intercultural awareness. And again, if I go back to the sort of the glasses metaphor, you may have had this, experience with your, let's say, your parents or your grandparents. They may be wearing their glasses, but they forget that they are wearing their glasses and they are searching for it in the house and they ask if you've seen their glasses. And you say, they're on your face, right? So this sort of self-reflection, self-awareness is really the most tricky part, I think, of intercultural awareness. Right, next slide, please. So again, we referred to this, you talked about this before. Intercultural awareness is important to communicate effectively, to work together efficiently, and to be inclusive so that everyone in the society feels valued and taken care of, really. Next slide, please. And intercultural awareness encompasses all these sort of things that I'm going to talk about. Recognizing the cultural diversity, respecting cultural differences, acknowledging the validity of different cultural expressions and contributions, valuing what the other cultures offer, empowering diverse groups to contribute, right? And I think this is the one that's like sort of my favorite, celebrating differences, not just tolerating them. I think this is important. Many of us, again, living in today's world, we do face in our daily lives people from sort of different cultures in our work environment, on our university campuses, when we travel, etc. So again, seeing the difference, recognizing the difference, it's not that difficult, but you shouldn't be just tolerating it. The idea with intercultural awareness is that you see sort of a wealth in that richness, in that sort of difference of opinion, and you are curious about it and you want to learn about it, that it gets you thinking about your own culture and starts your own sort of self-reflection process. So at the end, it's really about celebrating our cultural diversity rather than just tolerating it, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so again, a repetition. Benefits of intercultural awareness. The first one, if we start at the sort of the most general and the abstract level, of course, understanding and tackling complex global challenges today. I mean, I don't even have to mention a global pandemic, a global health crisis that we are facing today, the climate change, and the all the other environmental problems that we are facing. These are all very, very complex global or regional problems, but they definitely transcend national boundaries. So the problem is itself is transcending national boundaries. Definitely there's solutions. The way we can address them are transcending national boundaries. So that means we have to understand these complex challenges and be able to work out solutions for them. And these solutions may be from like intergovernmental treaties, organizations, agreements like the World Trade Organization or the Paris sort of agreement on the climate change. It could be just small things in our daily lives, how we sort of care about the environment and do certain things, etc. But these require really being a good global citizen. And that you can only get through this sort of intercultural awareness of the cultural diversity, the celebration of that diversity, and the self-reflection that comes with that. You can only be a good global citizen if you're interculturally aware. Now, you guys talked about the employability in the global economy. And especially if you're working in international settings, if you're working with international teams in the workplace, this is so important. I mentioned how the culture shapes our work ethic, for example, how we sort of contribute to a team, what's the responsibility of the individual within the team, for example. These are very much culturally shaped. And if you're working in a multicultural sort of team, you really have to adjust yourself to how other people approach their work and what they expect of you and what you can expect of them and how you can effectively communicate your expectations of a good project at the end of this sort of work that you do together. So all of this is very, very important when you're getting employed, after you're employed, how well you sort of you move in your career because you're working successfully with this sort of intercultural aware mindset so that you're really successful with your international teams, right? Academic success, if you are interculturally aware and you are currently a student, this is going to be a huge benefit to you to understand sort of different theoretical approaches, to be able to sort of communicate sort of different approaches to the same problem. And this is sort of obvious, let me add, like I studied international relations and political science, right? So especially in social sciences, in humanities, this sort of intercultural awareness and this sort of mindset is very much helpful, and it's obvious, in social sciences. But what you guys mentioned at APU, engineering students taking this intercultural awareness course, some people may say, well, I mean, how an engineering student exactly will benefit from this during the studies. I'm not talking about sort of employability benefits later, but during the studies, because you know what, engineering also, I mean, is about tackling really sort of difficult, let's say, problems in real life and engineering, designing practical solutions to them, right? And you coming from a particular culture may approach the problem and the design solution in a particular way, and another person from a different cultural background may bring a completely different approach. And it's really, I think, really, really important for engineering students and sort of design students to have that sort of intercultural mindset of being sort of aware of the contributions of people from different cultural backgrounds, what they can bring to the table. Right? This, I think, creates really interesting contributions from different people, creates sparks sort of creativity, imagination. So I think an engineering student would really benefit from this intercultural mindset. Social benefits, obviously, I mean, just making friends with people from different cultures, I think, is the most enriching experience. It's just like the most fun that you ever have. I was an exchange student in my high school years, and I also, studied abroad as a graduate student. And I think those are the best times of my life, honestly, because you just, nothing is like the same or expected, when you're interacting with different cultures, you learn different things, you get surprised all the time. and you just make friends and realize that there's a bond between the human races that is just, I think, very transformational, right? And that means also personal growth, really, at the sort of the individual level. I think that just is the best way to sort of grow and develop your own potential, to come to your own. Again, I'll go back to that concept of self-reflection and being self-aware. That's really coming into your own skin and realizing your own potential as an individual. So all of this sort of intercultural awareness notion really pushes you into the world, just confronts you with a lot of difference, and then sort of, it takes you all the way back into your own, psyche and your own sort of consciousness in a way. So it all sort of goes out to the world and then comes back to you. It is a mindset, and it's a beautiful one, I think. I was looking, next slide, please, Andy. I was looking at sort of nice inspirational quotes to end the webinar with, and I found two of my favorites, and one is by Desmond Tutu, whom we lost, I think, was it last year or the year before? Yeah, it was recently, yeah. And he had said that differences are not intended to separate, to alienate. We are different precisely in order to realize our need of one another. I think that's a beautiful concept of looking at cultural diversity. And next slide, please. Now, Mikhail Gorbachev, I don't know who remembers him. I'm giving away my age now, guys, but I was like studying international relations when Gorbachev came to power and the whole sort of Cold War system collapsed, the Soviet Union collapsed, etc. So I remember Mikhail Gorbachev. Maybe the younger generation doesn't so much, but an interesting character, certainly an interesting time in history. But he has said, peace is not in unity in similarity, but unity in diversity, in the comparison and conciliation of differences. So I'm going to end with that. And if you have any questions, if you want to just add anything, I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Aisha, for that very informative session. It's great to see you again. I know we only saw each other a few weeks ago, but looking forward to seeing you hopefully next time in Bhutan for our next meeting. Okay, we're now just going to, well, I'm going to pass you over to Ronald, who will now introduce our final speaker of the day. Over to Ronald.
Yes, thank you very much, Andy. Now we will be having the final speaker for our virtual mini conference here online. We have Associate Professor Dr. Shankar Chelia from University Science Malaysia. So he was before in various positions, 15 years in corporate experiences with Motorola and Intel, and now he is with the business school, with University Science Malaysia, and he has in fact published more than 100 publications in textbook, chapter in books, high impact journals, both in Scopus and ISI, and also have done a few local and international conference proceeding. If Dr. Shankar is ready. Yes, we have Dr. Shankar online. So anytime you're ready, Dr. Shankar, then you can share your screen.
Okay. All right. Is it okay? It's clear?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. Can hear me, yeah? Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction by Dr. Ronald. And thank you for the invitation for this virtual conference. I'm very delighted to share something related to internationalization. And my topic that I have chosen today is global mindedness and competitive advantage in creating future entrepreneurs. Okay, there are a few questions like we need to ponder. What is the current predicament after COVID 19? Why global mindedness is key for future business models? How can I create competitive advantage? How can students prepare themselves to become entrepreneurs? So I believe some of the participants for today's conference will be students and also some academic staffs and many other audiences from a different background. So how can students prepare themselves to become entrepreneur? And what is the future ahead of us? So let's answer this. What the ILO Director General says last year, this is what he says. One of the salient impact of the COVID-19 crisis has been the worsening of long-standing structural challenges and inequalities in the world of work, undermining recent progress in poverty reduction, gender equality, and decent work. So, in fact, COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted many progress that been made by many organizations in terms of poverty reduction, gender equality, decent work, and also other inequalities that happens in terms of pay, in terms of work standard, and also the environment, the work environment. So how we should encounter this? And I like to throw this question to the audience. Do you know, especially to the students, do you know there is a job mismatch? And based on 2020 report from ILO, and it's not too old to look at it, nearly 1 billion workers jobs don't match their education level. This is 1/7 billion population, and more than 935 million, that means close to a billion workers in the world, have jobs that don't match their education level. Alarming, right? And 0.6 million or 677 million are under-educated for their jobs, while remaining 250 million are over-educated. That means we have a problem in terms of balancing our education and also matching with the job. So most of us are under-educated for the job. That means we are not being trained fully for the job, or we are over-educated. That means we overqualified for the job. So there is always the job mismatch. It's almost like a billion, 1/7 of the population. And also we need to look at the unemployment. So in 2020, because of the pandemic, it went up. Look at the green color bar, 144 employment gap. And of course, it is reducing now to 2021, 75 million employment gap. And now this year, 2022, we have 23 million employment gap. And it still is very big amount at the world level. And what are we going to do about it? So if you look at the number of graduates that we are producing, public university, private university, high schools, TVET institutions, can we provide enough jobs for them? So what we should do about it? So how it is going to help us as a job seekers? How soon will you be employed? So this is something like just now I shared, the same statistics over here. We still have a shortfall of 23 million. And these are some relevant questions for us to ponder. Will there be enough jobs for everyone? What are we going to do about it? So why global mindedness is a key for future business model? So even though we have all these shortfalls, we have this post-pandemic time, we're still dealing with unemployment, we're still dealing with job mismatch, and these are all some of the issues that higher learning institutions are supposed to talk about. And this is the right forum for me to bring up these issues. Why global mindedness is a key for future business models? Look over here. These some of the renowned names at the current for the last 2 or 3 years. The question is, what is in common? So we can see over there T Life on the right hand corner. We can see Xiaomi, and we can see the top most valuable Malaysian brand: Petronas, Maybank, Tenaga National, Sime Darby, Maxis, IaH, DG, mostly dominated by bank and also government-owned institutions. And look at on the far left, top 10 brands: Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei. All these names are very familiar to you. And these firms over here dominated by private investment. Over in Malaysia, mostly are banks and also government-linked organizations. So what is in common over here? T-Life, for example, global mindedness. The thing that I would like to bring up over here is the global mindedness that embeds all this brand. Have you heard any unemployment issues in China? They may have, but not so significant. Why? Because of the private investment, innovation, global far-sightedness the brand has, and they have embedded technology into their brands. For example, like Alibaba using internet as the base to do their business. So global finance comes into their brands, the top 10 brands. Also, in our top 10 brands in Malaysia, most of the banks are also internationalized. Maybank, CIMB, Petronas, all these are internationalized. So global mindedness is something that embeds in the top 10 brands in China and also in Malaysia. And if you take any other country, Korea, for example, South Korea, look at their brands. It's not over here. Look at their brands: Hyundai, LG, Samsung. All their brands also has global mindedness. They have a global outlook. They have their global far-sightedness into their brands. Hardly we hear unemployment rate issues in South Korea as well. So I would like to coin the idea of global mindedness, which should be the focus for all of us, the students, the academic staffs, the management of universities, entrepreneurs especially, so that we look at the world as the market, no more the country per se. And we have brought in the globalization for the last 4 to 5 decades. And we have flourished. If you look at the European Union, if you look at Australia, if you look at Canada, if you look at the US, all of them have achieved higher GDP because of globalization. The question is, have we done enough? Have we done enough? So global mindedness requires to be a game changer. Are you going to be a job seeker? Where are you going to be crying for jobs, where we have the unemployment rate 23 million worldwide, or you're going to be a job creator. The earlier speaker was talking about something related to job creator. Be a global minded job creator. How to be a global minded job creator? So we need to go into entrepreneurship. How are we going to embark on entrepreneurship? The first of all, how can I create competitive advantage for my product and services? So if you look at this is a very basic concept, okay, for the product or services that we're going to offer to our clients or our customers. We need to provide to our customer something that is cost advantage, either for the seller or the buyer, or a differentiation advantage, either to the customer, also to the seller. How can we look at it in a different angle? This is what I'm trying to say. I just take a very simple example. Very simple example. So just look at over here. The one over here. Okay. When a consumer purchase a product from you, you are selling the product. So this is the cost of purchase the consumer pay for the product. And this is a performance benefit the consumer receives from the product. And the difference between the cost and the performance benefit is the customer value. In other words, I pay less compared to the benefit I reap from the product. That means I enjoy more and more benefit compared to the price that I paid. So the difference we call customer value. So as an entrepreneur, you need to ask yourself how much customer value you can provide to the market. When someone purchases your product or service, how much customer value you can provide. If you look at those brands which I displayed just now, Huawei, Samsung, LG, Hyundai. Hyundai, for example, the recent report says Hyundai quality is equivalent to BMW in terms of rate of return. That means lesser cars being returned to the showroom because of any defect. So the quality is equivalent to BMW. So that is a customer value you are giving to the Hyundai customer. So how much this kind of a value we are giving or we are ready to give, then we are able to survive in the current business environment. So examples of core or distinctive competencies that we should look at and we should be able to provide, for example, like greater proficiency in product development. Let's look at the product that we have now from Huawei, for example. They have laptop, they have a tab, they have a phone, they have also investing into chip, also investing to the server. So there's so many developments occurring at the Huawei. Better manufacturing know-how. Let's take Joro Pa Ali. How many of you know Joro Pa Ali? He's based in Penang. He sells preserved food. Let's look at the way he manufacture, package the product. So better manufacturing know-how. These are all distinctive competencies. Without this, we cannot be having a global mindedness and serve our consumer. Excuse me. Capability to provide better after the sales service. This is where Dell supersedes Acer. That's why Dell became a very prominent brand compared to Acer. Faster respond to changing customer needs. How fast can you respond to customer needs? That's why Procter & Gamble, in their detergent product, they're able to be front compared to any other detergent in the world, because Procter and Gamble respond very fast to the customer when they have issues with the detergent in Alps and also in Japan. Superior cost-cutting skill. Let's look at the computer price. From 6,000 now became to 300 US dollar, for example. How? How they can go into this kind of productivity, efficiency in their process? Capacity to speed new product to market. How can you churn out the product to the market first in the market compared to the competitor? All these distinctive competencies the entrepreneur should look at so that they can survive after this pandemic. And some organizations already have this. That's why they continue to survive. All these part of the global mindedness. We just can't look at what we have in the country. We have to go global. We have to look at what others are doing better so that we can copy from them. These are some of the distinctive competencies that I have collected so far. Capacity to speed new product to market. Superior inventory management system is what IKEA is doing. If you go to IKEA, you can't see an empty shelf. Why? Because the last product out from the shelf send a signal to the inventory store for them to replenish the shelf. That's why you don't see any empty shelf. Like you go to the supermarket, you can see a empty shelf for cooking oil, for example, all the time, because people buy more. The issue is not people buying more. The issue is how you manage the inventory using superior inventory management system. How you can send a signal to the store for them to replenish. All these simple things we can implement even in a sundry shop. That's how you can survive for a long term. Better marketing and merchandising. If you go to Walmart, you can see you will never ever see an empty shelf. Unfortunately, we don't have Walmart here in this country. We should have Walmart. The cheapest, lowest product you can buy under one roof. Better marketing and merchandising skills. Specialized depth in unique technologies. Okay, more and more we can talk about this. But I have a time limit. Okay, so digital decision making. So if you look at the organization that I mentioned just now, just look at all those in the orange color here. They are doing continuous quality improvement, cost reduction, product innovation, more effective intermediation, lower transaction cost. All this comes under the competitive advantage. So we need to continue to strive in achieving the competitive advantages. And how can we build a capable venture? What is involved? Staffing the organization. Where do you get the talent? You need to get the talent from where? You should get the talent from all over the country. We have talent from Berjaya University, from private universities, we have from the public universities, from TVET institution. All over the country, we have the talent. But we need to find the right talent for our organization, staffing the organization. Have you heard about Vitrox? Vitrox is a small company produce chips. And now if you go look at the Vitrox located in Batu Kawan, somewhere nearby here, my home, now they've grown into a big, large local company. And they just started with 2 employees, 2 graduates from USN. One is from physics, the other one from chemistry, I believe. So you need to have the right talent for the organization for them to look at what is the core business that I can serve and provide the customer value, which I mentioned just now. Okay. And number 2, of course, building the core competencies and competitive capabilities. And finally, structuring the organization. The structure, how do you structure the organization? Do you want to have a flat organization or tall organization? Do you want to be in the small, micro, medium organization structure? Or you want to be in an enterprise? So always look at How you want to structure the organization? Do you need to have a big employee pool? Let's look at T Life. T Life, they just hire temporary workers. They don't even work long than 3 months. But the business is really flourishing. Look at the business model they are using. In one day, in nearby the mall that I'm staying, they can make 700 cups in that particular mall. 700 cups. If it is a seasonal holiday, you'll go to 1,000 cup. Just the one outlet in one shopping mall. And the workers are not permanent. They don't even work longer than 3 months. So you don't have to have a big organization hiring thousands of people. So let's look at the structure, how the organization is going to be work out. What's the business model that you want to look at? Okay. So in Malaysia, we bring in the local, in Malaysian context, we are not talking about in entrepreneurship, innovation. Now, we are talking about from, I think, in 1990s. Okay. And now we are already in the 12th Malaysia plan. And entrepreneurship is very important. If you look at the Global Innovation Index, it's part of the plan, how much we can move our position. And also in the Global Entrepreneurship Index. And how can we embrace e-commerce, IT, telecommunication, networking? In fact, they are saying that now we are the 12th Malaysia plan. In fact, they spotted entrepreneurship the way back to 9th Malaysia plan. That means already like, at least 2 or 3 decades. How firms can survive? How firms can continue to provide employment? That's why we saw so many gaps, right? What the ILO person has said. By saying all these things, there are many companies still surviving by having the global mindedness, looking at the world, how they survive. How can we copy from them so that we also can build our capabilities? We call that competitive advantage. For example, look at this graph over here. Organization capability. This is where I'm going into. Your competencies, your efficiencies, your product development, and where you want to target your market. And what's the sales objective? How innovative is your product? And what is the talented workforce you have? And what is the R&D we're talking about? All these are the pillars. If you don't have this, you can outsource. You don't have to have everything with you when you start a business. All this you can have along the way. And if you don't have it now, you always can outsource. Even R&D, you can outsource. You can hire someone, organization already have R&D facilities. We can license our product over there, and we can have an agreement. And later on, we can have our own capability to have our R&D. Now, we always need to start somewhere. Like the Vitrox organization mentioned just now, they have their own R&D now for their chips. Okay, so now all talking about online marketplace, right? People talking about digital, internet-based, fourth industrial revolution. All this comes into the online technology, internet-based. The base is internet. So what they're trying to, the main point over here is we're looking the world as the market, global mindedness. Now, if you look at Alibaba, when they introduced online into their business, they have made 1,000 sales within a minute. I repeat, Alibaba has made 1,000 sales transaction within a minute. And all of us are sleeping at home. They're making tons of money. This is where we're talking about the internet, online, part of the fourth industrial revolution, where we're talking about many bigger things in the fourth industrial revolution. Then, being global mindedness, we have to look at not only the home market, but look at the how we can decide to internationalize. And we look at the end, market end. That means there is infinity. There is no one market, two market, three market. We don't have a number for it. It's infinity. We're looking at infinity. So that is a global mindedness we're talking about. Don't look at Malaysia alone. Look at the world. That means it keep on growing. There is no number we can measure. How big is your market? For example, like Coca-Cola. Even we don't talk about globalization. Many years ago, there's no WTO that time. We already have Coca-Cola every part of the corner of the world. That means they already have the global mindedness that particular time. So these are some of the success. I have another 3 or 4 slides to end the session. I'm showing you some of the success stories of my students where they become entrepreneurs. So example like this student, she started a soap business and it slowed down because of the pandemic, and now she put the business into online. Okay, these are some of the information that you can get from the online business that she has started. Nelly is Botanica. Huh? Okay, this is another student of mine where he has started to work in an electronic company, and now he has his own business called Monkey Boy Enterprise, and also Cactus Boy Nursery. And these students, during the international exposure, they went abroad. They went to Canada. I sent them to Canada. They are so timid, before they're going. After they come back, they become a totally different person. That means once they go out from the country, step out from the university, they see the world. They can see the mind change into global mindset. They see the world. Look at the picture they are enjoying over there. Some are flying, some are riding a bike somewhere near the waterfalls, playing the snow. You see? So all these my students, I think I've sent my students many parts of the world. I'm so happy to see them putting their, what they call it, a global foot around the world. Are you ready? The question is, are you ready? Are you ready to take up the challenge? So this is my last slide, I think. So there is a need for mindset change. Regardless of unemployment, business failure that we are seeing, all these, some of the shortfall. We have not seen the winners. I'm showing you the winners so that our mind look at the winners. Change is inevitable. What is important is a mindset change. The landscape has changed as we move into new normal, but have we changed ourselves? So to be an agent of change, we need to be effective value-based leaders, to have a clear vision and a purposeful changes that take place in our action. With that, I end my session, and thank you. I'll pass it to the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shankar, for that very interesting presentation on how to become a global-minded citizen. We still have some time for a few questions. So before we start with the serious questions, I just would like to know, maybe you can tell us a little bit more how mobility programs are done in public universities.
Okay. I think many years ago, I was managing students performing the exchange program. So students are encouraged to go exchange during their third year, so that when they come back, they can do internship and they can graduate. That means they have to plan their semesters by planning ahead what courses that they can take in the foreign country. So normally I encourage my students to take simple subjects that is not so complex, because when students go abroad, they are exposed to different teaching style, different assessment, different environment, cultural shock. So I always allow them to take not more than 4 subjects, and these are not so complex subjects, so that they can handle in the foreign country. So the students we send to foreign universities are those students we already have a MOU. I think there are many around the world, and students are given scholarship in certain universities, like Japan scholarship, JASO scholarship. Like in South Korea, we have certain university providing hostels, and in Germany, we have some universities providing free accommodation. So we have this kind of a program for our students, and these grades are included into their final grades upon the return back, and we embed into their final grades.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shankar, for that explanation. Second question that I have is basically on what you mentioned about global mindedness and some of the core competencies. In what way university students can develop this type of core competencies to be more competitive? Because we all know that university resources are limited, and the number of students in higher education is a lot. It's as if we are mass producing university graduates. So in terms of individual students, what is your advice in terms of developing this global competitiveness and the core competencies?
Okay, I look at 2 things. One is the academic staff, and also second is the students. So as academic staff first, academic staff need to have the global reach to connect the students with the virtual environment, learning, teaching and learning. For example, I have a bunch of students in Indonesia where my students work with them during the semester to come with some project discussion, where they work in a team, where partly supervised by myself and also partly supervised by their university in Indonesia. So that's one way for them to have the global outlook. That's one thing. Number two is the curriculum. When we teach the subject matter, we need to bring in some element of international element into our classroom, contextual and also in practical. Then looking at the student perspective, one is the mobility. We cannot deny it. So mobility is one of the way. Number two is they should participate in some of the international competition in terms of debate, in terms of innovation, because now we have a lot of competition that involve various universities around the world. They should participate. Sometimes cost become one of the issue, so they can work with some sponsors who are able to help them. So these some of the ways students need to participate. This is a golden opportunity for them. They cannot just go into a class, listen, pass exam, and go back to their home. That is not the university life that we should have.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shankar. I have another 2 more questions if you have
Sure.
time
Sure.
yeah. So in terms of mobility that you mentioned just now, does USM do a lot of staff and teaching mobility as well to equip the academics and non-academics in terms of making University Science Malaysia more competitive? Because as you know, here in Malaysia, public universities are bounded by rankings. So
True.
in what is your opinion in terms of this type of strategy?
Okay.
Does it help the university itself in terms of the image or being competitive
True.
as a public institution?
Yeah. So in terms of okay, ranking is one part of it, but when the academic staff taking the opportunities that provided by the universities and also the global institutions. For example, like we have a World Bank, we have a WTO, we have a United Nations. I think academic staffs and also students need to go into that organization and try to see any opportunity for them or not, because the funding provided by the government to the public universities is now becoming lesser and lesser. And I believe the funding is a big issue. So staff, those days we have sabbatical for us to go abroad, but now the funding for sabbatical also been removed. So now we have to be very independent and we must be very proactive to go out from the institution and look for opportunities ourselves. For example, I always liaise myself with universities in Thailand. I always go to University of Kasisat in Bangkok for me to do teaching and also research with the university, which is my self-initiated effort. So through that, I have a perspective about how the teaching and learning happens in Bangkok, and students in Bangkok hear from me on the Malaysian perspective. So the academic staff, I think, cannot rest in laurels anymore. We have to go out from the comfort zone and find all the opportunity that we have.
Great to hear your commentary on that, Dr. Shankar. So one last question, before we wrap up this session of yours. You mentioned about survival of the fittest, in terms of business and cooperation. So after the pandemic, sort of the pandemic, would digitalization improves on competitiveness, especially with Malaysian companies that do not think that the international market is something that they can do?
Yeah, okay. So Malaysian companies are not ready for the digital platform, especially except the food and beverage. Food and beverage industry has taken up the initiative to learn the digital technology so that they can deliver the food, take the orders. But other industry in Malaysia still lack in terms of digital technology. For example, like food processing, for example. Food processing industry in Malaysia still very traditional compared to Thailand. If you look at during Chinese New Year, we can see a lot of import of canned food from Thailand entering Malaysia because they are much more productive compared to us. We have vast land, we have a big agricultural land, but we don't produce the food into canned food compared to Thailand. Thailand are far ahead of us, so they are using technology better than us. So even we have come out from the pandemic, I believe there are a lot of room for opportunity for our industry to embrace, especially internet technology, for us to become more productive and we become more export oriented business in the future.
Okay, Dr. Shankar, thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation and for responding to my question. From the organizer, Asia Pacific University and also Berjaya University College. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can have more sessions like this. Especially from public universities to share their ideas on what global competitiveness, what internationalization means to this institution. So again, thank you very much for your time, and I see you soon in other session.
Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Shankar. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much to Dr. Shankar and to Ronald for taking that session for us. We are now moving into the final stage of today's mini national conference, and that is to announce the winners in conjunction with APU's third annual Friends Day of the digital story competition. So let's just share the slides. We're hopefully going to see at least two of the students. I know one of them is in the room, so we'll get to meet him in a little while. So here we go, announcing the APU Digital Story winners for 2022. And okay, oh, okay, right. We've got a round of applause. There you go. We've still got two of our previous winning students in the room, so they can work out whether or not they think theirs was any better or not. Okay, but again, just a reminder of how the stories were reviewed. Okay, so students were asked to produce a digital story between 2 and 3 minutes long, recorded on any media, to reflect, but it wasn't limited to an international, intercultural or global experience, a cross-cultural experience, or an intercultural journey. And the students were asked to highlight the importance of cross-cultural experiences, communication, cultural diversity, and that type of thing. So, without further, oh, okay, I forgot we don't have any transitions, so I couldn't do the drum roll and release it one by one. So, anyway, can you guess who won? So, congratulations to Benjamin, Ken, Mary, and Nadia. So, again, a round of applause. Okay. So, we will now watch the 4 winning videos before we then jump across to see the specific students. So, Jerry, if you are ready, can we share video number 1, please? Thank you.
Everyone has a comfort zone. It's usually the place we go to get away from all the distractions, the noise, the expectations, and the stress. Whether it be through music, art, dancing, meditating. For me, I think fitness became somewhat symbolic. I fell in love with this culture, and the gym became somewhere I could call home. My name is Benjamin Willie, and this is my digital story. Growing up, I was always known for being the skinny kid. I was tall, thin, shy, and I was often bullied because of this as well. And for the longest time, I just wanted to experience what it was like to be on the other end of the spectrum, you know, to be respected, I guess you could say to be idolized. But more importantly, I didn't want to be judged based on how I looked. Now, I think it's important to talk about gym culture because I think it's an important component that can contribute to the development of a person as well as their attitudes and beliefs. Now, personally, I've been very blessed to be surrounded with a supportive, like-minded community, you know, sharing common interests and attitudes and goals. And I think that led to an improvement within the gym environment. And when you have a positive gym culture, that's when people don't really care about your background, your race, or religious beliefs. people only really care about how much work you put in and how committed you are. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the gym culture, is that you're not judged based on looks, you're judged based on how much honest work you put in. And with that, I think exists cultural competency. After joining my first competition, the experience made me understand the importance of hard work, consistency, and patience, and how important it is to never give up or shy away from a challenge. It showed me that if I go after what I want, if I stick with it, if I pour everything I have into it, I can achieve anything. I owe a lot to fitness because it developed me into the person I am today. And although results and goals are important, what's more important is the journey.
So that was Benjamin's video, our first winner of the day. He's not actually with us today, he's busy, but I'm sure we will send our congratulatory message to him. And when he's able to be available, he will be on campus to receive his prizes. Okay, our next winner, Ken, I believe Ken is in the room today. If we're ready to start the next video, I think our next video should be Ken's video.
Greetings, my name is Ken Aragaza and I'm here to tell you about my cultural experience from 2020 to 2021. In mid-2020, I joined the National High School Model United Nations held in New York as part of a 7-day school trip provided by my school's Model United Nations Club. Model United Nations, or MUN, is an activity where people get to roleplay as delegates of a country in various councils and bodies under the UN. And IaH's MUN is an international MUN conference in which participants from many countries attend to debate and create solutions to ongoing world issues. There, I learned several life lessons that changed my perspective on cross-cultural interaction, from culture shocks and blunders, like how I was warned by an employee not to try shoes directly from a display while shopping for shoes. A practice that is acceptable in Indonesia, but not acceptable in New York. Some of these life lessons include expressing inclusivity, open-mindedness, and a desire to talk to new people and make friends during group work with people from different cultures, and the realization that your actions may be interpreted differently in other cultures or countries. I also got to experience the multicultural scene of New York, such as the food, religious cultures, and art and entertainment. It was a blast, and I thought it was a good way to end the year, until Indonesia announced a countrywide quarantine nearing the end of that year. From that point onwards, into 2021, I fell into an interaction limbo, where I didn't know what to do during the weekends because I couldn't meet my friends in person. That's when I resorted back to my good old friend and hobby, video games, to get the sense of belonging back. Most of the games I play, like Rainbow Six Siege,
Okay, the area is clear. Region.
Squad,
Oh, we did it.
Sea of Thieves,
are both sinking. Are both sunk.
and Valorant all embody an aspect of teamwork to complete objectives set by those games, which makes for really memorable play sessions with both local and international friends. I played with people from the US, EU, and other Asian countries and have experienced the different ways in which people work together. In some games like Squad, a leadership role is required, and I've filled that position many times, devising strategies with random people from the US, EU, and Asia. It was hard at times to fill this position, but taking the lessons learned from the New York trip, I was able to adjust and start leading in a more productive manner. I made new friends online and even joined the local community while playing those games. I'd like to end my story on a note that the physical and digital experiences that I've had in 2020 and 2021 have shaped me into a different person, one more worthy of the intricacies of cross-cultural interaction. I've learned that achieving synergy within a group of random people, especially one that is diverse in its background, requires a different approach, one that expresses inclusivity, open-mindedness, and curiosity. It has also taught me the challenges with working and talking to new people, which I use to create a mindset centered around perseverance and patience to overcome those challenges. Thanks for watching.
Okay, congratulations, Ken. You will need to unmute your mic in a moment. Swan is going to take over, so I could rest my voice. Over to Swan.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Congratulations. Sorry, it's just okay. All right. Andy is asking me to interview you because not because I play games, because I offer computer games development. Okay. Do you still play video games a lot?
Yeah, I do from time to time. I play with my friends as a way to like cool off or socialize because I do miss especially now because I'm currently in Malaysia and so I miss my friends back at home. That's how we connect.
Right. Where are you from? Japan?
I'm from Indonesia.
Indonesia. Okay. All right. Sorry. But you say you miss your friend back home. Can't you connect with them? Can't you play with them while you're here in Malaysia?
Oh, well, yes, I do, and we usually talk to each other and socialize through games. So I still games are still like I guess like a really big part of me since they're the ones that are keeping me together with my friends. Like we stick like glue because of that.
Okay, all right. I think you covered this a little bit on in your video, in your digital video. But what is one biggest impact that playing games has got on you, and it has changed one thing about you?
When I was little, I was very shy. I was very shy. I had a problem talking with people, or at least trying to initiate talking to people because I didn't know what to talk to and I didn't know how to. I think in that video, I said something about this one game where you have to become a leader. And it was a big step forward for me because previously I had a history of playing those games, but I never really took that role. But that game kind of forces you into it. And when it did, it was really rough at first, but thankfully the community that I played with at the time, which were a bunch of random people, they were very nice to me, and that sort of brought me out of my shell, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
um, so yeah, I was more comfortable with talking to people, or at least talking to random people, trying to make random conversation or whatnot, and it really eased me into talking to more people, especially on campus if I do get the chance to talk to people in like my classes or whatnot.
yeah, that actually lead me to my next question, because playing games is all online.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you said that give you the confidence of opening up and talking to strangers and whatnot. So, and then you mentioned that you are able to speak to any random people on campus. So the online and the offline does not make a difference.
There is some sort of a difference because I like to say that you really can't try and apply 100% how you would talk to people online with people in real life, because again the situation, the person is going to be different, the context is also going to be different. So there is a sort of like you have to play off the room kind of thing where you can't really apply 100% of what you've learned from talking to people online, but then at least what I've learned the most from talking online is that it gave me the confidence to try, to at least know where to start, and then from there I can try and sort of pro about where I want to go with this conversation, sort of like that.
Okay, I see you being a very confident, very conversational person like now. Very very confident, and you probably pick up the accent from playing games as well.
Yeah, pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Are you surprised that you are one of the winners, or you already expected that you are going to be one of the winners?
Honestly, I didn't really expect it because I did see the list of previous winners from the last intake as like the examples that they gave, and I looked at my video. I'm like, It's no, it's not. It's not the best, not the worst. So I was really surprised and excited that when I just randomly checked my email, I got the invitation. So yeah.
So the moral of the story is you have to check your email frequently, not randomly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one last question. Because we keep on talking about the good impact, whatever it is, nobody talks about the negative impact. Is there a negative impact that you think you've had because of playing games?
Well, yes. I think like it's also important not to gloss over the negative impacts as well. For example, I know playing games is fun and all, but it shouldn't be everything. Like I understand that. I know some people. I wouldn't say they took it too far, but then they allocated a lot of amount of time for games when there are other responsibilities, and that should be dealt with. It's more about time management, really. The second thing is that I think this goes with socializing in any place, not only just online, but offline as well. You have to be careful with the people you talk with, and you have to be careful what you say to them. Not because, like, uh, even though it's an online space and you think that you're safe online space, you never really know what's going to happen. And I've had moments where the people were very how would I say this, like they were negative, and I had to kind of like slowly back away because it was very negative, and it was very the way that they interacted was very intrusive and whatnot. So you have to be careful there as well, and also to be sure that when you're playing games, it's all about, you have to go back to, it's all about, again, to play games is all about having fun. Maybe it's about something else, but then it always comes back to having fun. So um, when someone gets negative, you have to be careful not to try and like get influenced by that negativity.
Alright, so in the end, you still get a positive impact by knowing how to differentiate the good and the bad and take the good with you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
more of that.
Yeah. What program are you in, if I can ask?
Oh, I am in information technology. The information technology.
Computer games development, yeah.
No, not computer games.
Okay, congratulations once again. All right, I think you may come in anytime to pick up your presents, pick up your awards and take some pictures. Yeah, we will be glad to see you on campus, face to face.
All right.
Yes, well, we're arranging a session with the Vice Chancellor and the President, so you'll come in and meet them, shake hands, have a cup of tea or something. But again, congratulations. And I think, again, you've shown the growth by reflecting on your journey and your cultural experiences, and that's what this is all about. So congratulations. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Very short notice, I know. But as Swan was saying, you should check your email regularly because you never know what you're going to find in there. And then on another note, you said, you're very good at now talking to random people. There are no more random than the people at APU anyway. So there we go. Right. So thank you very much. We're now going to move on and see our next winner's video. And that video belongs to Mary, who is also online. And once we've seen the video, Jason will jump in and again do the the interview.
Heard someone's story and feel inspired? Well, my name is Mary. I'm from Indonesia, and this is my story. Traveling to places always gives me a rush. No matter by plane, car rides, or even ferry boats. It is the one thing I look forward to as a kid, even until now. I don't travel overseas that often, but I do have enough exposure to international cultures. Since kindergarten up to elementary, I studied in an international school. I have friends from Brazil, Sweden, New Zealand, and Philippines. Most of my teachers are all Indian and Filipino. My favorite teacher until now is my kindergarten teacher, Miss Premi from India. Being exposed to an international environment since a very young age taught me how to interact, respect, and tolerate towards people with different backgrounds. Besides that, it taught me many amazing facts about different cultures. Hearing their stories about their culture and how does it feel living in their country, causing me to have a thought that I'm going to move and stay abroad when I'm older. It also changes my perspective towards my own country in a negative way. But then I realized that these people taught me to have high values of nationalism. Because during their stay at my country, they always remember about their home country and tend to go back once in a while. They also kept saying, and I quote, "What not to love about Indonesia and its paradise?" That phrase gave me no reason at all to see less of my country. I am very blessed to live here with all the mountains, beaches, and the kind people. The point of my story is we can search, explore, and experience every country, cultures, and traditions that are available in the world, and it is a positive thing to benefit us when interacting with different people. But we can never lose our devotion and feelings to our own identity, because that's what makes us us, and that's what makes us unique.
Hi, Mary. Congratulations. Very well done. So I have the pleasure of asking you a few questions. So don't worry. Don't stress. The hard bit is the difficult bit has been done. No, it was. I think first of all is I think we should celebrate all those winners. Everyone has done a significant amount of work and put their kind of heart and soul. So we actually, it was quite interesting because these assessments, you actually get to see a little bit of you. We get to see what makes you, and you know, you summarize there what makes you unique, what makes you you. So I think other assessments don't do that, whether it's exams, whether it's coursework, you don't get the impression of who the person is that is actually writing that assessment. So I've only got some questions for you to try and help others who are going through this process just now in terms of the digital story. So, because this again, we don't get this opportunity to actually speak to students to say, how long did it take you to prepare your assessment? So in this case, a digital story. And how difficult was it to put your ideas into a video? So two questions. The first is, how long did it take you? Because a lot of work gone into that. And the second part is, how difficult was it to put your ideas into a complete kind of canvas in digital story?
Okay, thank you for the question, Jason. How long did it take for me to do this assignment? I would say my whole life, because these are based on my experience, right? But for the actual work, like the actual video, it only took me like maybe 3 to 4 days, I think, if I'm not mistaken, because it's for me it's pretty simple because I know what I want to do right when you guys explain the assignment. I already have something in my mind on what I'm going to submit in the assignment. And is it how difficult it is to like put my ideas is not very difficult. First, I just like write down everything that's in my head into a piece of paper, like not in order yet. Just write down everything that I want to put in the video. And after I write it all down, then I arranged it into like intro, opening, the main point of my story and the conclusion. And then I collect pictures and start editing. And for the editing process, it's not very difficult too. It's just like search for icon on the editing platform. I use Canva for the editing tool, and I do my voiceover, and that's it. That's like pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay, but still, you're saying there 3 to 4 days. It's a lot of time. Now, if I was to ask you, I'm going to ask a question about any lessons learned for other students that are going to do this. But in terms of, you've done your first year, so you've done your semester of study, you've done the digital story. How did that experience doing a MOOC, an online kind of at your own pace, asynchronous module? How did you find it? First of all, and how has it helped you doing your studies in other modules?
Doing the MOOC module, I really liked it because, as you say, it's on my own pace, and I don't like being rushed. Sometimes, in other modules, we need like to keep up everything, the materials and stuff. But with MOOC, we can take it slow and like really dig into each material like deeper, and as we like it, and we can search more info about that certain topic. And I think that makes me like it it makes me easier to like understand the course itself, the module itself, and it helps me with other modules. I think I don't know how, but I think it does because it teaches us how to like interact with different cultures, right? And in my class, we have like different, so different classmates, like from many different countries. So during like group work or like group assignment, it helps me like communicate with them because it gives me like the basic identity of each country, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just one final question, because we've got students. We're just actually in the middle of Martin, just now. Well, some of us are, and we've just had a new group of students just embarking. We've got them tomorrow, for their second encounter with us. 5:15 till 6:15. It's an hour of entertainment. You remember those days where the three of us are all talking. What advice would you give students who are going to embark on their digital story? You know, we keep saying, don't just do a trip to Japan and all the food that you've had and the scenery. You know, what advice would you do? How to get started to those students about to embark on a digital story? What advice would you give them?
My advice is don't think like too hard if you don't have like any digital story, like the experience, the base experience. Like think of the little things that you've experienced before, like maybe but just by saying hi to a random stranger that's like not the same culture with you. I think you can put it into the digital story and like create interesting story from it. Or
What
just
made
like
you choose the?
by
Oops, sorry.
interacting with their family. Yeah.
No, sorry, carry on. Carry on.
Or like just by interacting with your big family, like from your mother or father side. I think that's quite interesting story put into the digital story. So yeah.
So something that you're familiar, something that you know. Yes, because when we looked at your video, you could actually see, the personal nature of the experience. And I think some students kind of maybe sanitize it a little bit and just make it very much like a tourist video rather than what have you learned as a person? What have you learned about yourself? So we've certainly learned about you. We loved your video. It came from the heart. It had emotion. It had humor. It had entertainment. It had everything about. And we were delighted. And we just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you for sharing your personal experiences. And very well done. It was an excellent video.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you guys too.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. As we said, there'll be a session with the Vice Chancellor and President. We'll try and work out a time with all 4 winners so we can get you all on campus at the same time. So keep an eye on your email. But congratulations once again. And we will now move to our final winning video. This is from Nadia. Unfortunately, Nadia wasn't able to join earlier. I don't know whether the retiming has worked for her. I don't think she's here, but we could watch her video anyway.
I grew up surrounded by people of different races since I was young. Being mixed, I sometimes felt like I didn't belong, as even though my birth certificate says I'm Malay, attempts at trying to fit in with my Malay peers made me feel like a foreigner due to my looks and awkward pronunciation when speaking the Malay language. This made me grow close to those of other races. In my early school years, I met my best friend, Adeline, who was this lively, extroverted Chinese girl, and we are still the best of friends until now, 13 years later. Fast forward to the present, I've made friends of diverse backgrounds, ranging from my Chinese and Indian schoolmates to my Indonesian, Thai, and Japanese buddies I made through online games, picking up some phrases or two from their respective languages. Around this time, my parents surprised us with a trip to Japan, our first trip abroad. I prepared with a lot of shallow YouTube videos such as Top 10 Most Common Japanese Phrases. Truthfully, this information went in one ear and out the next, and I did not do the best research on the culture and etiquette. I was more excited for the places I was going to visit instead. I expected for it to be as simple as just hopping from one tourist attraction to the next. When we got to Japan, it was a huge shock for me. The fact that we could walk from one destination to the next and travel by train was so new to me as I have never lived near public transport. As exciting as it was, I couldn't help but be super anxious about our routes. I kept my eyes glued to my phone for Google Maps to make sure we wouldn't get lost, and had Google Translate on standby in case we didn't understand anything, as almost everything was in Japanese. It's a little embarrassing to admit I spent more time looking at my phone compared to enjoying the environment. I was just so afraid of getting lost and not being able to find our way home before our portable Wi-Fi device ran out of battery. I truly learned my lesson when I was walking through a countryside neighborhood area leading to the farmer's market where most signboards were in Japanese. When I walked straight into a group of people having a chat outside their houses, I was so embarrassed. I was so immersed in looking at the map, I forgot to be aware of my surroundings. After that incident, I started looking up from my phone more. I understood some Chinese as I took a few classes and would converse with my friends. So I started noticing some similarities between Japanese and Chinese characters. I also remembered some basic Japanese my online friends in Japan taught me. I can't put into words the satisfaction I felt recognizing these characters around me and being able to understand their meanings. Even so, my minimal knowledge of the language was not enough for me to survive without my translator app. I don't think I used a single phrase from the 5-minute YouTube video I watched before the trip. I realized, even with my diverse circle of friends, the knowledge I had about other cultures was surface level at most. So I vowed for my next trip to at least pick up more of the native language before leaving, so I wouldn't have been so stressed trying to get around. In the end, understanding more of the culture of the country would have made my trip more entertaining instead of worrying every second. Thank you.
Okay, that caught me a little bit off guard. I wasn't quite ready for the end of the video. We were just making sure we were ready to look at the end of the session. So once again, congratulations to all 4 winners. There will be a session with our Vice Chancellor and President to receive their prizes. You'll see the prizes on the screen. They'll each receive a T-shirt, a thumb drive, well, credit card thumb drive, and a notebook. So to our 4 winners, we will be getting in touch with you very soon to find out what size you want, whether you want big and baggy or you want figure hugging. You can let us know. Okay. The other point to mention is that as of 6 minutes ago, if you want to rewatch those winning videos, they are available on YouTube. You can search for APU Digital Stories July 2022, and they will be there for you to watch over and over again to your heart's content. Remember to like, subscribe, give them a thumbs up, because every time you do that, it does tell YouTube that our channel is worth watching. Thank you for the plug. Okay, we're now going to start winding up the session as opposed to winding up the students. We do that on a daily basis. So let's go around the room and we'll final thoughts on the day. Let me randomly choose somebody who's looking like they're least ready. Swan, over to you. Because I'm mean, I'm sorry.
Well, what a day, isn't it? I think it went smoothly, these sessions with the speakers and the students. I think the great thing about the whole thing is that the sharing by our students who've gone to Bulgaria, that's one. Second, also we have got a couple of students who could share their experiences, the winning students, 2 out of 4. So that's 50%, that's really good. And of course, there's also a good opportunity for all of us to get together as friends. We have we have our guest today, Ronald from Vijaya, and the students are still here. They stick around until now. I think they are really excited, wanting to see the winning videos as well. I would say today is the event went well. I think I enjoyed myself. So thank you for anyone who tuned in or who watch it later. And till the next event, we will have another event that is coming up as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's now randomly choose Ronald.
Thank you very much, Andy, Jason, and Swan for hosting me here in APU. Yeah, and also to the students, the 4 students that went to Bulgaria for sharing their experiences. I hear the same thing as what my students mentioned to me, and they brought me gifts actually for my students. They brought me a bottle of arak, from Bulgaria. Okay. I also enjoyed the sessions that we had with the 3 speakers that we have today. Professor Mushtaq from Harriet Ward, Aisha from Istanbul Aydin University, and also Dr. Shankar from USM. Yeah, and in case you're watching this recording later, don't forget on Facebook, like and share, and also on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe the YouTube channel. Thank you very much again to our host today, Andy, Swan, and Jason, and hope to see you in the next round of Friends Reunion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronald. Okay, then we'll hand over to my more handsome twin, who will now say something inspiring.
Me you're referring to, sorry.
He's gone. He's gone, so we'll have to you
He's
instead.
gone, so I'll have to jump in and say something. Yes, I think just to reiterate what my colleagues have said, I think how we organise this event and how everyone kind of
pulls together and shares. I think you see something in terms of the digital story. We always say about how have we grown, what have you learned, and reflecting back. And I think when we had the segment speaking to our students that went to Bulgaria, they talk about their experience, the reflecting back. What did they learn about, the food, the culture, and they encountered a difficulty in terms of COVID. And they were talking about their home comforts, their food, things like that. And it's looking at how you transition to a different culture and you kind of link into what you know, but how you adapt, overcome. And you've got a story to tell. Our first speaker, Mushtaq from Heriot Watt, he calls himself a storyteller. And he was making reference to how the journey, this journey of how Heriot Watt started. And we're all going through a journey that will have many twists and turns, but essentially we get to this end destination. Swan is telling me something. But so you've got that journey, and you've also got all that learning from those different types of experience. And Aisha was saying the same. And again, she was engaged with the importance of being this friendship, the networking, and just being totally engaged with things. And Dr. Shankar, again, giving that perspective from public universities, it shows that we're all interrelated and we all go in different directions, etc. But without each other, life would be somewhat difficult. So we're always learning. We learn from all these videos that were shared by the students. That's why I asked a question about how difficult was it. And I think in the case of Mary, I think she underestimated, just 3 to 4 days. But one thing that was quite important, she enjoyed what she's doing. And I think if you enjoy and learn, you don't only get good grades, but also you get that good experience. So yeah, another event done. We move on to the next one. We'll be celebrating these caravan events. We've got another one, I think, coming up. We've got another event coming up, so in the next couple of days. So again, it never stops, but if you enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't seem like real work, does it?
That's why we're at APU.
Correct.
And so thank you, Jason, Swan, Ronald. And Swan will turn her camera around in a minute, just so we said that the students were still here. There you go, they are still here. They have stuck around, which was more than they had to do. They probably didn't have anywhere else to go. But it's very nice for you to stick around. We will be calling on you again for future events and activities. Like we say, one of them will be a session with our VC and PVC. If we can get that to combine with the winners as well, then we get all of you together just to share your experiences. But I think, as everyone's been saying, this is a journey, a learning journey, whether you are 8, 18, or a little bit older. It's you are learning on a daily basis by all your experiences and learning from others, and those experiences will help to mold you and make you the people that you want to be, but will also then be useful members of society and the workplace. I was getting a bit sick with the motion sickness with the camera movement from Swan then. Don't worry. The next major event, and that's something for people to keep in their diaries, will be in October. And that will be the international conference for the Erasmus project. That is going to be held in Bhutan. Sorry, students, you won't be sponsored to go there. The flights are extortionately expensive, and to get a visa, you have to apply about 3 months in advance. I say 3 months in advance. I know that Swan and Ronald have had feedback. I've not had any feedback, so I might be staying in Malaysia. Never mind, I'll walk. So yes, that's our next big event. Thank you to everyone that joined us today to present. So our 3 speakers, our students, our winners, Ronald and my friends sitting across the table. Again, I think they've gone. So Swan and Jason, who are taking their places. Thank you, everybody. It's been a great afternoon. We've done 3 hours, 29 minutes and 23 seconds. I think we can stop it at 3 hours and 30. Thank you very much and goodbye.